As promised, protesters from Netflix, people who work there, came out saying trans lives matter. They were protesting against Dave Chappelle and what they said was bigotry and hate speech. And I think it was exactly what we thought was going to happen. Man, I'm just going to say it. This group of individuals was completely deranged. And I mean it. And I'm not saying that in any way disrespectful to the actual individuals who have questions about hate speech, because this clearly was deranged, unhinged, made no sense. There was no argument or conversation brought up around what their ideas were supposed to represent. It was just insanity. And you think I may be exaggerating? No. There was a guy there at the Netflix HQ holding a sign saying, "We like jokes" or something. I like Dave Chappelle. And they attacked him, tore his sign, grabbed his sign, destroyed it, and it just said something like, "We like Dave." And they started screaming he's got a weapon. Then a woman comes up to him with some kind of shaker and says, like, "Demon be gone" or something, trying to exorcise him. So yes, if you came to me and said, "I'd like to have a conversation about hate speech on Netflix," I'd be like, all right, well, here we go. Let's hear it. That wasn't even this. It was completely deranged. But you know what? Netflix, their co-CEO, I think this individual is already beginning to cave, saying, maybe I should have been a bit more careful and recognized that employees are hurting. Oh, shut up. Did you see this video, guy? Do you know who you're talking about? Why are you hiring these people? Trying to exorcise a guy who says, "I like Dave Chappelle"? Yeah, great. Well, this is interesting, so we'll definitely need to talk about this. We got Chicago police officers still defying the vax mandates, and boy, is crime going up. And we're going to have to get into this. Plus, the January 6th committee has referred Stephen Bannon to they've moved to seek criminal prosecution of Bannon, meaning it's got to go to a floor vote. Probably will never happen, but still, this is the realm of politics we are in right now, where the establishment is literally saying we'll do what we can to try and put you in prison, even though Steve Bannon was not there at the Capitol. Didn't happen. And they could go after Antifa. They could go after these lunatics who burned down buildings. Nope, Stephen Bannon's got bad opinions. And he helped organize a rally where people waved little American flags. Get him. Well, joining us to talk about all these ideas, we got Jack Posobiec.
What's going on, Tim? My first time in the new studio. I was a little disoriented, but fortunately, I slept on a MyPillow last night, and the topper and the sheets. I did. I've been traveling a little bit, and it's always annoying when you travel because you don't have, I don't have the full MyPillow with me when I'm traveling, and it just, you don't get the best sleep. So I was in Denver. I was out there. I was speaking at the Centennial Institute. Then on Friday, I was over in Phoenix. Got to visit Turning Point headquarters, where I got the swag here. And, but it's always nice to get home. And, of course, for my family and my children, but also my MyPillows.
What a great salesman. I'm taking notes.
I know, right?
And, I just launched a new Klaus Schwab t-shirt that I just posted on Twitter and Instagram under Luke We Are Change. And if you're interested in the new Klaus Schwab swag, you could get it on thebestpoliticalshirts.com or the shirt that I'm wearing right now that, makes sure that the NPCs understand that they should only trust verified sources and no one else.
Everybody's always selling something. You guys, you come on my show and you start talking about the things you're going to sell, and it's almost as if you aren't getting enough biotrust.
Oh my God. I'm kidding. Yeah, I don't have anything to sell, but Boris Johnson might be making magic mushrooms legal. I don't think we're going to talk about it on the show much, but just want to get that out there. Get ahead of the curve on that one.
Oh, good for him.
You heading over in? You going to be first in line?
Yeah, I'll take a dip.
Going for it?
Yeah, you're not going to be able to get in because of all the weird lockdowns and restrictions.
How strange.
Yeah. I think you need vaccine to go to UK right now.
Yeah, you can't even. Zuby was saying he had to fly to another country, and then he couldn't just come to the U.S.
Some people were telling me that for Poland, actually, they were saying that you can't fly direct, but if you fly into Frankfurt, then you can go over or something.
So weird.
Because it depends on where you go through Schengen.
Wow.
I am also here in the corner. I am pushing buttons, as I usually do. I am intrigued by all this talk of MyPillow. I actually sent 2 of them to my husband. What I did was I sucked all the air out of them with my vacuum, and they traveled just like a dream. It's
amazing.
Awesome. You could totally take them with you, is what I'm saying, Jack.
Oh yeah, they would compress pretty well, wouldn't they?
They compress, fantastic. Yeah, but then you need to. So when you open them up, you have to put it in the dryer. So if I don't have a dryer with me on, basically what I need to do is every time I'm traveling somewhere, I need to send it ahead with full instructions. Right, you're going to open this up. You're going to unvacuum seal it. You're going to put it in the dryer and have it prepared on my bed for me. That'll be in my rider, like when I go out for
a dryer must be in my dressing room.
Only a bowl of M&Ms, red only M&Ms, then another bowl of Skittles, yellow only, and then full MyPillows everywhere.
That's right.
Well, there you go.
Yes.
Well, my friends, we do have something to pitch. Head over to timcast.com, become a member, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments from this show. We're going to have a members-only segment coming up. We do it Monday through Thursdays, 11 p.m., but now we have the Green Room Fridays, and that's where we just film people hanging out doing fun stuff in our green room. But right now, you will see on the front page of timcast.com, we have round 2. Bid now to win 2 tickets to hang out with Timcast Live. We are doing an event. It's in the Harpers Ferry area. All the tickets were all free for members who are $25 or more. So this is an event we're doing where everyone's going to get, I think 2 drink tickets. Again, the tickets were free. Now we're doing the members only auction. And so you can actually go if you're a member and bid if you want to try and come. And then every day we're going to have another auction with 2 more tickets that'll run for about a day. And then, definitely check out the website. But don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, and share the show with your friends. If you're on a podcast or whatever, give us 5 stars because that really helps. Well, let's get into the news. My friends, we got this from Fox. Netflix protesters furious over Chappelle's special Attack Man with We Like Dave's what?
I can't get the screen to work.
You can't get the screen to work?
Something's funky with the screen.
What did you do?
I didn't do it. This wasn't me for once.
Oh.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
Oh, man.
Yeah, okay. So
what
did I do?
happened?
I'm not sure. I switched the input.
Oh.
Enjoy our technical glitch here.
You put the camera to me.
Let's
Probably
see.
the best thing you can do all night.
Uh-oh.
There you go.
Well,
Ian, we don't
I
want
guess
people to turn it off.
I'll read the story and at least everyone else can see it.
Well, we could use that camera to put that on the screen, right? And
that
that could
idea.
work. I mean,
Maybe.
bootleg it. I'm great at bootlegging
that.
stuff. So just take the long view camera, put it on the screen.
It's not as long as it used to be.
And-
we'll
Yeah,
just
we got a
read.
new PTZ camera.
we did.
We'll just read the news.
You can trust him.
Yeah.
I trust you.
Trust me, I'm reading
Yeah,
the news.
there we go. Okay.
All right, here we go, my
Sorry
friends.
about that.
From Fox News, Netflix protesters furious over Chappelle's special Attack Man with We Like Dave sign. No. They didn't attack a man with a sign that said We Like Dave. They attacked a man holding a sign that said We Like Dave. I think that title's kind of funny. Some activists have called for Netflix to remove the controversial Dave Chappelle special. Everyone spells Dave Chappelle wrong, by the way. That's always, look at this.
Yeah, I was just wondering that actually. 'Cause it's 2
Isn't that
P's,
2
right?
Ps?
Yeah, spelled it
yeah.
wrong. How dare they? So this video is just absolutely hilarious, by the way, and I guess we're not getting any sound either.
Sorry.
So there you can see it's just a sign that says We Like Dave. Oh, actually, you can't see anything.
Can't see anything.
But it's fine. I'll tell you it's happening. There's a guy holding up a sign that says We Like Dave. The mob surrounds him, just stomps on it, destroys it, and then starts screaming, he's got a weapon.
What?
This is amazing.
There's a tweet from the Daily Wire if someone wants to go check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I
this,
think Netflix loves this.
You think so?
I think that's why the vice president came out and talked about I'm so sorry, I apologize, we never should have done this. But you notice he didn't take it down, right? Because this thing is doing gangbusters in terms of views, and more controversy means more people are going to view it. So at the end of the day, I think Netflix is secretly very happy all this is going on.
They might be organizing the protest.
It wouldn't surprise me at all. No. I mean,
Again-
you kidding? From a marketing perspective, if you've got a book coming out, if you've got something coming out, and protesters are going to come out there after you, given today's environment,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what you want. It's exactly what you want.
Well, the mainstream media was talking about 1,000 employees walking out of Netflix. I think it's safe to say that it definitely wasn't 1,000 people. It was some people that went vapid and crazy because one guy had a sign and stood there peacefully saying, We Like Dave. And they responded as if he was some kind of criminal.
I'm pretty sure he was chanting Trans Lives Matter too.
I don't know.
He wasn't opposed to them. He was just like, I like Dave. He's a funny guy. And they were screaming at him.
Well, a couple guys jumped on him, took his sign down, ripped it away, tore it apart, and then made sure he couldn't have it. He had a stick. They said the stick was a weapon. They pushed him, and they came up and they said free speech, MFer, and they got really close.
No, a lady
to his
was
face
like
and
shaking
screaming,
things at him, and she was
then,
like, "Evil be gone!"
So I saw Dave Chappelle in Nevada a couple of weeks before this thing dropped. It was right before the McGregor fight because we were out for that, and it was Will Chamberlain's bachelor party, and we were with Tom Sauer and a bunch of people, and so that was one of those sort of like no cell phone shows. But I think that a lot of the similar kind of bits and stories that he was telling at that show, and Rogan came and did like the opening act, and Todd Segura was there as well. And I remember one of the big things that Chappelle was talking about that night, and I've heard that he repeats the story again on the special, is that he had a very close friend who was a fan. She was trans and then was bullied for being friends with Dave Chappelle and then ends up killing herself. And he was sort of just telling her story and saying how He's like, you can be friends with someone who's trans, you can treat them respectfully, but this movement, right, the politicization of it has gotten out of hand, and oh, by the way, my friend died as a result of this.
Dave's losing this.
Think he's losing?
Absolutely losing. His Sticks and Stones was hilarious. It was amazing. It was offensive. He did a
That's the last special.
Not this one is the closer. The latest one he did is the closer.
Right. You're saying that's the special before.
Sticks and Stones, the one before, was amazing. What happened? He got attacked. But we all joke saying they can't get Dave Chappelle. He's too famous. He's too big. Everybody likes the guy.
Right.
But they did put a crack in the hull. And if you watch the closer, man, half of the bit is basically him complaining about getting attacked for it.
No, that was the whole show when I saw him too. It was I was a little bit jet lagged.
They got to his head.
I fell asleep. During the show. I was
they got to his head.
Where's the comedy? Where's the
And then
jokes?
he said, I'm not going to do these jokes anymore because I don't think they get it. And it's like he's caving in.
Wow.
Now the Netflix CEO is like, oh, I should have did it better because our employees are hurting. And then you get all of these this cult, and it's a cult, man. When they start screaming "Evil be gone," and they're acting as if they're in some kind of like hollow, fundamental simulacrum of a religion or something, they have lost their damn minds.
They're screaming "Burn the witch."
Is that what they're screaming?
No, I'm saying,
right,
but I'm
basically.
paraphrasing, right? I'm drawing a parallel between that they've declared that Dave Chappelle is a witch. And that anybody who supports him, well, then you're also going along with the witch.
Let's take a look at like Amy Schumer's Netflix special. Everybody hated it. It was just awful.
Well, just think of all those clips that went viral of the great jokes from Amy Schumer that we've all, yeah, exactly.
And the controversy. Well, there was some clips because she was saying just really disgusting things. And people thought she was trying to go for like shock content.
Oh, yeah, I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah, she was talking about, she talks a lot about disgusting bodily functions.
Right.
And people were just like, I don't understand how I relate to this. And so that's when Netflix got rid of the star system and said, we're going to do a thumbs up, thumbs down, I guess. Is that what they do? Thumbs up, thumbs down now or something? So
it's something like that. But it's so annoying to me because I liked the star system when they had that, right?
Yeah.
You know, you should be able to see, okay, do people like this thing?
How
Is
much?
it any good?
Yeah.
How much? Which Amazon has. On Prime, you can actually see that. And there's other services out there, other streaming services will at least give like the IMDb score. So you have some kind of an idea, but Netflix, it's gone.
now we have Dave Chappelle, who is wildly popular. Audience loved the show, even though this one was very much him like eulogizing, his career. Like, I can't do this anymore. I'm not going to be doing a special. He talked so much about how they went after him and how his friend died over it. And he's like basically saying like, I can't do this. So now they're protesting outside of Netflix. They're getting what they want. The CEO is starting to back down. He's like, I should have thought about this. And the cracks are forming. Dave Chappelle was a much harder target to get taken down, but they're succeeding.
Yeah, and the more you allow this to continue, the more you say, well, I'm going to go along with it, even though it's ridiculous and he's clearly wasn't saying anything that was negative. Any of the stuff they
doesn't
accuse
even
him
matter.
of. Not any of the stuff they accuse him of. You are giving them a win. You're giving them a win because you're letting them set the frame of the debate. You're letting them set the narrative, and you're bending the knee. At the end of the day, you're bending the knee.
This reminds me of South Park, when the hippies are coming to South Park and they want to do the music festival.
Right.
They arrest Cartman, and then they're like, this festival is going to be great for us, Eric. Why would you try and stop it? We're going to make tons of money. And there's like, hippies don't have money. And then that ends up happening.
Wait till the corporations hear the sick groove.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
and then he plays Slayer and gets Blood Rain by Slayer and gets everyone to go away. Isn't that the one where they have the like the van that they drive through the crowd? And they're like, don't go out there. Yeah.
It's like the movie The Core. But I bring that up because Dave Chappelle, popular, funny, and Netflix is slowly being weakened by a horde of deranged people screaming psychotic things. Why is anyone listening to these people?
Meanwhile,
it's good for the establishment, I guess, to control culture.
I haven't seen clips of any of that, of Dave Chappelle going viral, but I'll tell you what clips are going viral. It's Norm Macdonald.
Yeah.
Right? The Norm Macdonald clips, the stuff that people are digging up from throughout his career. And the reason he was popular was because he was politically incorrect. And he would say things that if there was a sacred cow, he would step on it and mock it and make fun of it and criticize it in a way that, whether it was Hillary Clinton or O.J. Simpson or whatever, literally whatever it was. He was even making fun of the way Democrats were spinning January 6th. If you go to his Twitter feed, there's a few tweets of him, I think from that very day. And, that was his entire career because he was just being real. I think that's what people want.
You see they're going after Jon Stewart now?
Good. He deserves it. He deserves every bit of it.
Jon Stewart, but why? Why does Jon Stewart deserve it?
Because he's a horrible person.
You think so?
He's a disgusting person.
Really?
He is responsible for the gamification of politics.
But
he's
not
one of the
him
people
personally.
along with, very much him.
Really?
Very much him, yes. If you look at what he did with The Daily Show, he decided that, and he went on, and then he goes on to Crossfire, right? And it was Tucker.
Right.
And that was the show where they had one, it started with Buckley, and they would always have sort of one conservative, one liberal, and they would sit down and they would debate, but they would at least have a conversation.
Right.
Jon Stewart goes on a Crossfire, blows it up, and says you shouldn't be talking to each other. We shouldn't have conversations with each other. Instead, he goes over to The Daily Show, and what does he do? You know, he's not really a political guy. He didn't come to media with any kind of political background, but what did he know? He knew talk radio and specifically sports radio. And so he turned The Daily Show
which was a pop culture show.
Right, a pop culture show originally under Craig Kilborn, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
That he turned it into essentially sports radio, but his team was the Democrats.
I mean, Jon Stewart praised Project Veritas on more than one occasion.
I think he's trying to atone. Right?
No, but this was back in the day.
I think he's trying
the run of The Daily Show.
I can't give it to him. No, can't give it to him.
Relative to where we're at now, you know, his willingness to be like, look at this guy and look what he did. And now you have, you know, John Oliver, Jordan Klepper, Jim Jeffries, the most garbage trash. For sure.
My theory is that
Stewart
Stewart started that.
Yeah, but there's
the weaponization of comedy.
There's a big difference between someone who's like, here are things that I think we should talk about, and then someone being like, hey, look at this formula we can extract from that.
Right, but think of it too this way: he changes the formula of comedy instead of
I think you're putting it on him when it's Comedy Central, when it's HBO, when it's these
to an
producers.
extent. But how many years was he the host of The Daily Show? 8 seasons or something? 9 seasons?
Was it 9? It was a long time.
It was a long time.
Yeah, it was like
really
over 10 years,
long time.
Sure.
And so he changed it from, instead of the punchline being, so the idea of, you know, like a Norm Macdonald, where the idea of a punchline is a, you know, I'm forgetting this phrase, but you're not giving someone their expectations, right? You're subverting expectations. You're an unexpected punchline. He took that away. He took away the punchline. And so the punchline became, look at these stupid people. They think things that are different than us.
He hosted it for 16 years.
16?
99 to 2015.
Yeah. Well, now he's come out and he said...
I didn't realize it was 2015.
He said the media is focused too heavily on Trump acting like he's the greatest threat. We need to, you know, get back to reality. And now they're all saying,
because he did
Jon
the same
Stewart's
thing
out of touch.
The entire time. I'm sorry, like, I just don't buy any of the Jon Stewart, like, you know, retribution tour.
I don't know.
Because I remember.
Bill Maher, hold on.
Yeah.
Bill Maher is saying the same thing. Bill Maher is like, all of a sudden now I'm playing to a mixed audience and people are craving comedy mocking wokeness. And it's like, yes, Bill, because people who are liberal back then are still the same politically, but we watch videos of this group of unhinged psychopaths outside of Netflix, and I'm supposed to relate to that as the left?
Yeah.
Please.
Now, Jack, I would disagree with you a little bit because I believe Bush deserved a lot of criticism, and he was only getting it on Jon Stewart and some other shows. But everyone, especially early on in his presidency, loved him and adored him. But he was also one of the few people that actually criticized Obama and was actually able to break that barrier. Now, I understand your bigger point when he kind of politicized comedy and wielded it as a weapon, I think more effectively than anybody else out there. And he did it for his side, and I think you make a compelling argument about that. And I do agree with you on that point. He's patient
zero of all this. He's patient zero. This wasn't, you know, and then when Jimmy Kimmel is kind of like, you know, a great example of someone who became infected by this, right? You can go and see Jimmy Kimmel early on when he's doing, what was the game show he had with Ben Stein, and then he's on the Man Show, and then
Win Ben Stein's Money.
Win Ben Stein's Money. Yeah, he was the host. He was the host of that. Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
Colbert was twisted,
and then even Colbert originally was just kind of like a parody, but then they go through this filter. They pass through this filter. They realize the weaponization of it. They realize the political power of comedy, and now you turn it on, and every single comedy host
is the host of the Tonight Show.
I disagree. I don't think.
It starts with Stewart.
I don't think it was political.
That's pretty.
I don't think a bunch
actually.
of Democrats were like, "Wow, look how powerful this is." I think certainly there were some. What I think happened was after the Daily Show was winding down, they were like, "How do we do more of this? People love it." And so they were like, John Oliver, let's do a completely formulaic. Man, I've been watching House reruns lately. I've been watching, House season 1. And you guys know House MD, right?
Yeah.
Every episode is the exact same. Like,
pretty much.
Literally, it's like mysterious.
It's never
illness.
lupus.
It's always sarcoidosis. And then,
it is always sarcoidosis.
Yeah. So, but thinking about how formulaic that is, watch John Oliver's show. And it is a beat for beat identical every single episode. Truth be damned.
There was a 4chan thread about John Oliver that was went viral on Twitter and other places where they were talking about how John Oliver and their use of canned laughter and canned applause and their pause lines and the fact that they won't give you a beat to think, right? Yeah. It's programmatic. It's completely predictive programming.
And then when COVID hit, they had no audience and their shows were tanking because they had to use laugh tracks, and it wasn't the same thing as a studio audience being told to applaud. Because every studio audience that goes there, they're told, hey guys, you gotta give this a lot of energy. You gotta clap. You gotta go crazy.
Did you see the Trevor Noah? During the pandemic?
Yeah. I loved it.
Have you ever seen like Big Bang Theory without the laugh track?
No.
Oh
They take an episode of Big Bang Theory and they remove all the laugh track, and then you realize there's not a single joke in the entire show. It'll be like Sheldon will come in and he'll go, what are you doing? Making popcorn? Yes, I'm making popcorn.
Yeah, Big Bang Theory sucks.
That's it.
Big Bang Theory makes fun
that's what John Oliver is too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Take away the laughing and he's like, little Timothy over here.
These, and that's it. And I understand the meta implications of this comment, but John Oliver and Trevor Noah, any of these guys couldn't hang with even like a basic YouTuber. Like none of them could walk through that door and be able to hang on the show.
Well, everything's scripted, everything's carefully curated, and it's kind of sad what happened to comedy because just a few years ago we had
Jon Stewart was funny. Like I'll give him that. He has a ton of talent. I just don't respect it all the way he used to.
But still, you compare today's comedians to Bill Hicks, Richard Pryor, George Carlin, Eddie Murphy.
Oh yeah,
those people leaned into controversy and used it as a way to make fun of orthodoxies, to question the narratives, and to bring attention to themselves and to their art. Now, and I think some people are criticizing Tim's point here about Dave kind of bowing down, but I wish kind of Dave would have kind of embraced it more. He made it very serious, and I wish he did it because he genuinely wanted to do it. But I wish he would have ended by just slam dunking as much as he could and just going over the top and just bringing it to a point where, again, laughter was the focus and not seriousness. Because when he does walk away from it and says, I'm done, guys, and he kind of nods his head and he's unhappy, he does kind of open up this window that allows this larger protest to come in to fill that vacuum that he sucked out of that room, that he sucked out of that stadium with that seriousness. So, when it came to like Richard Pryor,
when I saw Dave Chappelle, that's exactly what the feeling was like.
And he was still working on that gig.
He ends with his friend killing herself, and that's like the end of the show.
Yeah, and that's
and you leave and you're like, what was that?
Well, that goes into the whole kind of negative energetic circle, but we have to ask ourselves, what would George Carlin do? What would Richard Pryor do in these situations? And they would double down, triple down, and make fun of this entire situation because there's a lot of comedy here. That video of the guy saying, we like Dave, getting harassed. I mean, there's so much room to work with, and we're living in a situation where we can't even laugh at these things or we're going to be threatened to be censored or canceled. No, I don't want to live like that. I want to live with people standing up and fighting for one of the most important rights there is, and that's the right to have satire. So that's my point of view. And I always said it's going to be a dark day when the censors, the YouTubes figure out how to go after satire. And I think they're encroaching on Dave, and it's not going to end with Dave. But Dave, I like that special. But I wish there was more. I wish there was more of a ending on. I'm still going to laugh at you guys.
Cowards and cultists took over our major institutions, our media, and big tech. I remember Twitter, free speech wing of the free speech party. Wow. I don't know what happened to Jack Dorsey and his crew, but they immediately just dropped to their knees and said, I will do whatever you say. And now you end up with Netflix.
I think they were always cowards if you look at Hollywood, but now it's just transparent with the internet.
The
industry was so disgusting for so long. Still is.
I definitely think Jack Dorsey is a coward. I definitely think that. Because, talking to him privately when I did back in, several years ago now, he was talking about the need for people to, have their social media be immutable and you can't take people down and things like that. He was talking about how we need a path to redemption. Just banning someone permanently for these, infractions is not, is not just, and he does nothing.
Yeah, it was kind of amazing when you'd hear him say that stuff. And I remember listening to your, I wouldn't call it a throwdown, but discussion, right? And it almost sounds like Jack Dorsey, the person, does still kind of have that feeling, right?
But he's a coward, so he
doesn't do anything about it. And you hear, oh yeah, path to redemption, that sounds good, or like a rehabilitation program, or any of these various things, and yet none of them ever come to fruition. And you just kind of get the sense that this guy is not the one who's actually in control of his company.
What would be good?
Did you hear about Dan Bongino saying that he's gonna quit his program
of Cumulus, right?
Cumulus over their vaccine mandate.
Yeah, I saw that.
I'm curious what you think about that. Well, so the context, just real quick, is Dan Bongino's got his show is on over 300 different radio networks.
Right.
He's signed to with a company called Westwood One, which is part of the Cumulus radio network. And he said, if that company, Cumulus, wants to have a vaccine mandate, then I will quit this show unless they stop. You can either have the vaccine mandate or you can have me. Now, I've got a lot of thoughts on that, but I'm curious what you think.
And Dan, by the way, and one thing I did see with that one wrinkle is that he is personally vaccinated because he had cancer issues. So he was someone who obviously is immunocompromised. I have a friend who had throat cancer, is just getting over that, and he's like, he needs to wear a mask all the time, right? And it makes sense, right? Because he's immunocompromised. As far as Dan, I think that's amazing. I think that's fantastic. I was one of the guys that I got #FreedomFlu going worldwide, and it was the #1 trend on Twitter. And this is between Southwest. It wasn't just the weather, and Delta and the rest of the people in the military and everything that's going forward is you need to stand up against medical tyranny. And I think that's what he's doing. I think he's looking at it from a perspective of, I don't want to live in a country where we mandate things like this when and I saw people saying this when I was tweeting about it. Someone had commented and they said, well, what if COVID was 10 times more deadly, right? And what if this? And I said, well, what if what? I live in reality. Where do you live, right?
What if it made people turn into vampires?
Yeah. What if it, whatever, right? But the point is it doesn't. But for some reason, you people have deluded yourselves into thinking that COVID is something that it's not.
I have a really simple answer to a lot of the pro-mandate people. They're like, well, what about all the other vaccines that we mandate, like MMR? And I'm like, I've never been mandated to get vaccinated to go to the store or to buy a slice of pizza.
Right.
No one has.
Right.
They're doing something entirely different.
So I'll give you an example, right? When I was in the military, right? So when you first join, you go through boot camp. You go down what's called Vaccine Alley, right? In Vaccine Alley, it's like left arm, right arm, left arm, right arm. And they tell you what it is. They're like, oh, this is but you don't remember. Like, this is this one, this is that one, this is this one, this is that one. And you're just left arm, right arm, left arm, right arm. And the last one, well, it goes somewhere else. But, and then when I went to Guantanamo, because we were with the Afghan detainees and tuberculosis is still an issue in Afghanistan, I got the tuberculosis shot. And so, those are all vaccines that have been going around forever. And, every year we're also mandated to get the flu shot when I was still in. And every time when they gave me the active culture, that's the one that's like the mist. They kind of mist it in your nose. Mm-hmm. Every time I got that, I was sick. And then I would like try to talk to the guy, like the HM2, the HM3. Hey man, can I get that shot? Cause, I really don't want that mist cause I know it's going to make me sick. I'm going to have to call out again. There's like, sorry man, you can't do it. Right. But, again, these are all vaccines and shots that have been around for a long time.
So I was thinking about Dan Bongino's show, and I'm like, isn't it better though that he's on the networks of these companies speaking out against it? If there are people at these companies who can't speak out or they're scared to, it's still better that he's appearing on their radio network, at least giving them some argument. More importantly, I was like, if that's going to take away airtime from the radio network, and then result in people working for Dan Bongino instead, who don't have to live under that mandate, you have more jobs with no mandate as opposed to the radio network producing their own shows and then having the mandate. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So like syndicating a show is better than them running their own because that would make more mandate.
Because at least you have a voice.
Well, I mean, like, let's say Cumulus.
Are you saying take up space?
Yeah. Well, listen, Cumulus says we've got a 10 p.m. slot. Let's hire this radio host to do a show for us. Okay, he's got to be it's a mandate for vaccines for him and all of his staff. Now you've got 10 people who are being faced with the vaccine mandate. Or they say, why don't we syndicate someone else's show? Now those 10 people find a job with Dan Bongino with no mandate. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So maybe it's actually better to occupy the space from these companies so that it weakens across the board the amount of people who are under a vaccine mandate.
It really, and honestly though, I've seen Dan do this. Like Dan's someone who quit Twitter as well. So that reminds me of, right, so he quit Twitter, and I believe it was when he was going to Parler. And so now he'll still do the Bongino report on Twitter, but he won't personally go on Twitter anymore. And, you know, I've seen, and I mean, I know
Fox
Dan,
News
I
still
don't,
tweet?
Fox came back. So Fox came back on Twitter, and I know Dan, we talk a little bit on the back end. I think he's a great guy. I totally get it. But I know he's taken stands like this before. So it didn't surprise me when I saw something like that, to say that in his mind, it's like, I can't support something morally, right? If I have a moral problem with this, then I can't go along with it. So I think that's where he's coming from.
Yeah, I mean, it's also very easy to fake a lot of this and to comply, and people are just not doing it based on principles, based on morals. We had Kyrie Irving. We have so many other people. We have firefighters. We have police officers. We have nurses. We have medical professionals saying, hey, this is a big line here, and I think we're witnessing some of the biggest protests ever, especially when it comes to how many of them are happening all over the world, how significant they are, how many people are pushing back against a lot of this, and it's just adding a lot of strangeness to the fact that the mainstream media doesn't even acknowledge that there's another side, that there's another debate, that there's a whole bunch of other people standing up and saying, no, this is not okay, we're not going to go along with this. So, I mean, there's so many different aspects of this.
Last couple times I flew, I just mentioned I was in Denver and Phoenix. Almost at every airport I was going to, there was only one TSA checkpoint. That the whole thing had been wound down because of the labor shortage.
A lot of TSA agents are also not complying with the vax mandate.
Last time I saw was only 40%.
I think it's over 40% that haven't and aren't.
Haven't. Yeah.
So that's 40% of the workforce. That's a significant workforce of already, a big bureaucratic agency that doesn't do their job well. Now they're going to do it a lot worse.
Well, TSA, to begin with, TSA is largely theater.
Exactly. It's all security theater.
Yeah. It's not,
when
I was in...
I can tell you stories about working at O'Hare.
We used to, we would send people in with for when I was in the Navy, and it would all be, set up, obviously. You would get someone like, a dummy ticket, and then you'd give them a device, one that was designed to appear to be like an IED. And of course, this was all set up under Department of Homeland Security, whatever, Media Matters. And we would send them through, and something like 90% of the time they would go through.
Higher. It was like 95 or 98 if I remember.
I'm just saying the ones that I've done.
Wow.
And then the people I'd go with would have to sit down with the TSA agent as they're pulled into secondary screening, and they'd show them the device, and it would be like, a bag of Doritos and then a soda can inside of it, and then just like all these electronics and crazy stuff on the inside. And they're like, you just let this through.
I used to work for American Eagle Airlines. This is a long time ago, and back when I was like 18. And at O'Hare, they said if you're driving into the employee lot, you just pull up to a booth, hand them your ID card, they swipe it, hand it back to you, and you drive in. There's no frisk, there's no search. Then you get out of your car, you get on the bus takes you to the terminal.
This is pre or post 9/11?
This is very much post 9/11
based.
Yeah. I'm not that old. Not that old. I wasn't old enough to be working in the 90s.
No. I'm just doing the numbers.
But if you took the train to work, you had to go through security. They said if you're taking the train to work, if you're taking the train to work or the bus, or you're getting a ride here, you got to go through normal security like everybody else, and then come down to your zone room. And then I was like, there are these doors all over O'Hare that have keypads. And as an employee at the airport, you get a card that you swipe and punch in a code, and it opens these doors.
Okay.
So when you want to go from, if you want to eat food, you got to go up to the terminal. You got to go up to where the restaurants are.
Yeah.
So you open the door. When you're coming back to work, you got to swipe your card, punch it. That lets you on the runway, basically, because we go out on the tarmac. And my favorite thing was, I don't know if they still do this, probably at O'Hare, where the baggage conveyors are. There's doors that go right to the bag room. And a lot of people who work the ramp, that's what's called working ramp, will drop bags off there, and some people work in the bag room. So I'd be like, so you want me to go upstairs, go through security, then go downstairs, go through a similar door into the bag room, instead of just walking right in the front door, swiping my card, and walking in the bag room. Well, then you wouldn't be going through security. Now, what's the point of security if there's doors here and anybody can walk through it?
But you can just walk right through it.
Technically, you could.
And what kind of security?
You needed a security card to walk right through it. But
what kind of security or background check would there be for an employee, though?
Well, so I went through a federal background check. I got fingerprinted, and then they gave me the ID card. So they still want you to go through standard security, which makes no sense, because if you own a car, you don't have to do it. And that's when you can actually carry stuff in your car. That's, what are you going to be carrying? You're walking into the airport with just your backpack. But then if you're downstairs and in the baggage collection area, there's a door you just walk right over to and you swipe it and you walk right into your workplace. But they tell you you're not supposed to do that. I'm like, dude, I don't care what you think someone is supposed to do. You have no security if that door exists for employees. Don't act like you have employees must go through security like everybody else. No, they don't. That's just ridiculous.
But if you bring a bottle of water on board, they're going to be on you like white on rice.
My favorite thing about the bottle of water thing is, right, they make you put the water in the containers, right, that are all right there. So, this is too much liquid, so you have to put
throw it in the garbage.
You see where I'm going with this. So throw it in the garbage. So the next person comes up and they say that, okay, now you throw your over 3 ounces in the garbage. So theoretically, this is all like liquid nitrogen and all these explosives, right? So you're creating, right, again, theoretically, an entire, you get it, an entire case.
I don't know if you're going to have a bottle of liquid nitrogen.
Full of explosives that's just sitting right there. And that's the way that you guys consider it. No, obviously that's not true. I remember one time though, I was flying with a shotgun that I'd purchased in Arizona. I was flying home with it. And, I'd called TSA ahead. I'd called the airline ahead. I said, hey, I'm bringing this. It's in a case. It's compliant. It's got the locks. It's got everything. So I bring it up and it was American Airlines. And I remember the check-in, the check-in lady was there and she goes, well, I need to inspect this. I say, okay, I'm going to unlock it and here's here. She goes, all right, now you need to take it out. And I look at her and I'm like, let me just hold on before I respond to you. Let me just repeat what you said. You want me to take my shotgun out right here in the middle of the airport? Like,
yeah, sure.
I was like, ma'am, I'm not going to do that. And then she looks at me and she's like, oh, well, maybe I could just open it in the case and take a look at it there. So, yeah, maybe you can do that, ma'am.
Yeah. Let's talk about what's going on with these with Chicago, man. This story is it's getting a little crazy. We kind of derailed a little bit there, but here we go. From NBC Chicago, some suburban departments won't send officers to Chicago if needed amid vaccine battle. So we have I think it's 5,833 in Chicago officers out of something like 12,600 who are either not getting vaccinated or refusing to disclose or in complete defiance. They may get axed. Mm. And Lori Lightfoot's like, well, we don't need them anyway because we'll find a way. Yeah, they find a way by calling suburbs and saying, please send us your cops when they're having trouble. Now these suburban departments, some of them are like, yeah, on your own. So this is a good indication to, I don't know, get out of Chicago.
Get out of cities.
Yeah, get out of cities.
It's already bad in Chicago. I mean, what are you getting away
right,
from? Like, it's already horrible. More children died in Chicago from gang violence than COVID. So that should tell you something. And it's already a lawless place. Already most of the murders there go unsolved. So less police officers. I mean, they're just getting what they're voting for.
So you're seeing this, by the way, the same movement now with in Buckhead, which is the large and very prosperous precinct or district of Atlanta, where they're saying they're suing for essentially to divorce themselves from the city. And I went on Jesse Kelly the other day, and he's a big proponent of national divorce. He says this is what we need. It's going to happen. I said, we're not going to get a national divorce, Jesse, but we might get something more along the lines of national separation, right? It's like we're living in the same house, but, we're sleeping in different bedrooms. We're dating other people, but we're staying together for the sake of the normies. And I think you're going to see that more and more because if you look at Illinois as a state, right, it's like a bright red state with the exception of Chicago, right? Being it's just dark
Chirac.
Blue, right? Chirac, yeah. And it's the same with a large majority of these states. Western Maryland, by the way, has, kind of a secession movement where they want to join up with West Virginia. You're seeing this in a lot of different states.
In Western Maryland?
In Western Maryland.
Really?
There's a part of that.
We're in Western Maryland right now.
We are. Yes, we are.
I like this.
I'll have
to look into that.
That's actually something that people are talking about. So the idea of breaking away and then joining other states that are maybe more conducive to your views. Parts of Virginia are talking about this as well. Parts of Colorado.
Yeah, West Virginia, I think, agreed to accept, or they said they would accept the Virginia counties if they do secede.
Because the problem with Virginia is that it's essentially been annexed through the blue suburbs of Washington, D.C., and because they're so populated, just, the vote wise, it just trounces. And of course, you've seen the election coming up.
It really is the funniest thing in the world because where we are right now,
I think you're going to see it. I think you will see stuff like that.
We are about from this house a minute to Virginia and West Virginia. No joke, literally a minute. And
so we're just talking about it now. By
and that's
the way.
Loudoun County. That's Loudoun County.
Right.
And I think it's funny when we drive into Virginia for groceries or food, and you see Gadsden flags everywhere, and I'm like, in this state,
Yeah.
no way, dude. Deep blue, Democrat supermajority, Gadsden flags. Yeah, I can't believe people stayed in Virginia. Because I go and I'll go to some of these farms and talk to people, and they're like, these people understand what's happening. And I'm like, why are you in Virginia? You could literally just move a block away and freedom.
Is it just they just don't move because it's too much of a hassle?
Well,
I don't think people care, really.
I think that gets into, there's still a very genteel, aristocratic kind of sense with a lot of Virginians, a lot of the families that have been there for a long time. Like we are Virginians, we are going to stay in Virginia. This is what we do. This is who we are. We would never leave. Right, regardless of what happens, the South shall rise again.
Isn't the Gadsden flag like a symbol of Virginia, like a state flag or something?
Well, no, the state flag of Virginia is Sic Semper Tyrannis. And
Jeez.
no, it is. It's right on the flag. And I say that as a Pennsylvanian, but the Gadsden flag that's more of like a 1776 Revolutionary flag.
Right. Yeah, but you can get as your license plate in Virginia, I'm pretty sure.
You can, yes.
Dude, I was just looking at the state flag of Virginia. It's like a Roman dude standing on top of another guy with a crown on the ground next
Wild.
to him. That's epic. So what's Sic Semper Tyrannis? What does that mean?
Thus unto tyrants.
Yes.
And it's basically like the overthrow of the tyrant?
It's what John Wilkes Booth yelled when he assassinated Abraham Lincoln.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Ian's face was like,
but he wasn't. No, he wasn't the originator of that phrase.
Right.
But supposedly it's related to Julius Caesar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Brutus.
Roman tyranny.
Mm-hmm.
Brutus. At 2.
I think we're also seeing a big population shift. I think we're seeing a lot of people who were right-wingers leave places like New York City, leave places like Chicago, leave places like Los Angeles because it's just becoming more and more restrictive to live there. And that's why I think this kind of argument about the national divorce is starting up because the lines are being drawn very seriously where people who don't believe in the orthodoxy, don't believe in the narrative, can't live in New York City. New York City, just by the way, publicly declared racism a health emergency.
God bless them.
And they just doubled down on their vaccine mandates, getting rid of testing as a requirement for
as an alternative,
New York City employees. Yeah, as an alternative.
There's so many black market.
Live in New York City. We have friends of the show. They come on periodically, and they live in New York. And I'm like, you're crazy.
There's so many black market vax cards going around in New York right
exactly.
now.
Wow.
But that's the hottest industry in New York City right now.
A postcard. You just got to be willing to break the law to make it.
Which the FBI said that they're going after and cracking down on people allegedly.
Oh, they're probably
saying
wrong.
that they're going to be implementing felonies for people who fake their vax cards.
Yeah,
but
but they also accept foreign vax cards.
Yeah.
There's no jurisdiction for. So I guess what they've said is that if you use a fake vax card in any capacity, it's fraud.
Right.
But I don't know if that actually constitutes fraud. I guess you'd be violating a civil. Well, there's no law. It's a decree, and the penalty's on the business, not the person entering the business. And how would they know if a foreign vax card is real or not? Unless they've been to I don't know, the Maldives where they issued it or something.
Well, they don't. A lot of this is just made up. A lot of businesses are not complying with it. A lot of businesses aren't even doing it. Like we saw with the San Francisco story with In-N-Out. But New York City really getting rid of testing for people who don't want to be vaccinated and are city employees. There's over 300,000 of them.
Well,
it's so ridiculous because it's so anti-science. It's so counter their own narrative because people who do get the vaccine, according to the CDC, can get sick and can transmit the virus. But New York City is just limiting testing.
I don't want to keep having an argument about testing because the real issue is we shouldn't be mandating people show their papers.
Nothing, yeah, of course.
And so there's a tendency among people to fall into the left's framing every single time. So they'll be like, vaccine mandates, and then everyone starts saying, yeah, but what about natural immunity? And they go, oh, I guess you're right. Okay, mandates with some exceptions. No mandates. I didn't need my ID or a vax card to go shopping before, and I don't think we should do that now. You want to talk about kids going to public schools? We'll have a conversation about the research and the legislation for that. No mandates. I don't care what they are or what they're for.
Absolutely agree. But I think it's also important to counter their narratives because it's just so ridiculous and so nonsensical. And sadly, there's still some people in the middle that are so confused with the fear mongering, with the constant flip flopping that they don't know what to make their minds about. So I think clarifying a lot of this nonsense to them is important.
Sure,
I think it's
we
wonderful.
can mention the cops, or even in New York, you've got cops that are pissed off. You got FDNY pissed off. They're saying you're violating our union contracts. And if you're in Chicago, you probably already know how bad the crime can be. Huh. Now imagine it getting worse. Suburbs saying, we're not going to help you. This is your problem. You've got cops in Seattle walking off the job, turning in their boots. Turning in their boots and we quit. Good for them.
Yeah.
People saying no.
Continue. So this is why I say this, folks.
Enjoy your leadership.
Get out of cities for at least, I don't know, the next 5 years, maybe more. Just this is a downward spiral. This is something that I hear that Schellenberger talked a little bit about this, but didn't talk about some of the money that's that's being put up behind these people like Chesa Boudin and Larry Krasner. A lot of this is Soros money, huge left-wing institutional money that's going to support these guys who, let's just call it what it is. They're pro-crime. They're allowing crime to be committed in these cities. In Philadelphia, they're stopping traffic stops. Just traffic stops are now not going to be done in the city of Philadelphia because they claim it's racist.
New York City, you could shoot up with drugs and the cops can't do anything about it.
Yeah, so they have this area in Philadelphia called Kensington, and it's they call it the Kensington Beach, because it's essentially an open-air drug market where you can go, and so many people are doing drugs there. They're shooting up in public and then kind of like passed out on the ground. It looks like they're, guys sunning themselves at the beach. They call it Kensington Beach. And there's a few like Instagram accounts and YouTubes where you can go and just see the absolute depravity and dregs of human society. I saw one video. It was a woman with a newborn baby and still had the umbilical cord on, and she was just lying there on the ground.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
That's your cities right now in the United States. So,
and it's only going to get that much worse.
It's getting worse.
I know it feels like things are bad, folks.
This is just
but
the
it's
beginning.
going to get worse.
People don't get it either, man. They really don't. Like the Washington Post, they were like, maybe instead of being upset about there not being food on the shelves, lower your expectations.
No, see that? No. There's a backstory to that op-ed. So that op-ed, I've been told, was planted by Kamala Harris's press team. Because yes.
Wouldn't surprise me.
To generate hatred for herself?
No, generate hatred towards Joe Biden.
Oh.
So to make his head blow up, to make Ron Klain and Jill Biden. So this has been my whole theory of the case, and I've been reporting this, for months now. We just had the leaked audio from the White House from my insider. My whistleblower came out on this with the vaccine mandates, that what one of the big friction points between the two sides. We know Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, they were never friends, right? It was a shotgun marriage. He wanted Klobuchar originally, but then when Black Lives Matter took off, and when that took off, the party basically said, you need to choose Kamala Harris. So they've been doing everything they can because they can see, and even Rasmussen had the story today, 54% of voters now believe that Biden is in cognitive decline.
Oh, yeah.
And that everyone kind of knows that Kamala Harris is the freight train that's coming forward. So Jen Psaki, Ron Klain, and Jill Biden are doing everything they can to say, throw sand on the tracks and, delay the inevitable. Oh, we're going to give her immigration. Oh, we're going to give her climate change. Oh, we're going to give her the border. We're going to give her all this stuff. It doesn't matter because no matter what you try to do to sag her down, you're not going to help Joe Biden.
Now think about this,
He's
right?
still the Titanic.
I want you to imagine something. In this reality, Joe Biden is a fumbling, bumbling idiot. Mm-hmm. He's screwing everything up.
He's our Yeltsin.
And Kamala is coming for him because this is her chance. But now I want to rewind and present to an alternate theory, an alternate reality, where they all, Obama and Biden and Hillary and the Democratic establishment sit down and they say, this is going to be rough for us. If we win in 2020, we're going to have to reverse Donald Trump's policies because they helped too many poor people. And we need this country to be torn and gutted. But people will get mad at us. So what do? So Joe Biden says, look, I'm old. Give me one term to reverse Trump's policies and destroy this country. And then I'll take the heat for it. And then what does Obama say? You don't have to do this, Joe. Remember that quote?
Yes.
That's what he really meant. Joe was being a hero to the Democrats, taking the fall. And Kamala, right now, as the Washington Post was like, Madam Vice President, Democratic Party, we'll do whatever you say. Do you want me to press post right now? And then Kamala Harris is like, do it. And then they press enter and a tear rolls down. And then Joe walks up to her and puts his hand on her shoulder and says, it's okay. It needs to be this way. She's like, but they'll never know what you did for this country.
Oh my
it's like,
gosh.
no, I can be that hero.
Yeah, no, I don't see it. I think Kamala Harris, think of it. She goes from a staffer to the mayor of San Francisco to becoming the DA of San Francisco to becoming the Attorney General of California to becoming the Senator of California.
Oh, no.
To becoming the Vice President. And she will be, ladies and gentlemen, embrace it. Embrace it.
No,
she will be the first female president of the United States. Selected, not elected.
Oh my
gosh. But what I've also been told on this, she wants to pick another woman to be the vice president.
I hope she picks Pelosi.
So you'll have a full female. Actually, I've heard Whitner is the one that she's looking at.
Yes.
All female.
There's
the
gonna be a
future is
civil
female,
war, dude.
folks.
Oh my
How
The
can
future, the future is female.
The future is civil war.
Yeah.
The future
You know,
is
because
female.
look, when we say that, we all start vomiting like in our mouths a little bit. They're saying the same thing about Trump. They're like, Trump's going to run and it's going to be Trump again. And
he is going to run.
It's civil war, dude. If you have a Kamala Harris Trump ticket, it's just like
versus Trump.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, no, sorry, not together.
Wow.
Yeah, no,
That'd
not
be
ticket.
weird.
Yeah, no.
Kamala
Weird twist.
Whitmore ticket. I mean, that's just.
Oh, that's it. No way.
Wow.
Yeah, think about that. So that's
I mean,
where
maybe
that's
just-
where I live. You
maybe-
got to be ahead.
Maybe Trump just wins in a landslide at that point.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at the
Whoa.
polls right now, even like Quinnipiac and some of like the more left-leaning, Quinnipiac is a dyed-in-the-wool blue poll, and they're basically saying that Trump would win if he ran today.
So they're going to use this as an excuse and be like, Biden can't do it. Biden's going to be like, I did my best. And,
The economy's better than
whatever.
Well, it'll probably be like,
Economy's
it'll probably be like, oh, there's a heart issue, or there's something. Like you're not going to actually see the 25th Amendment, but behind the scenes, it'll be like, Joe, I know that you failed the cognitive test, right? I know that you couldn't draw the clock. I know that you couldn't say, purple monkey dishwasher. And so, either you resign or I'm going to go through this thing and destroy your legacy.
I just thought of a really good idea for a meme because I've been watching House, I'd love to see just like someone put Biden's face over the patient when he's like, true not a shot of depression. And then you have House trying to diagnose
House,
it.
yeah.
He's like,
you
random.
could rotoscope it.
Yeah. You could be like, the patient has tics, stumbling and falling down the stairs, failing to speak properly, slurring speech. What is the diagnosis?
And then the next scene is the team, when they always have that team scene where they're like, could it be
sarcoidosis?
Sarcoidosis? Autoimmune? Is it autoimmune? It's never. Wait, then whose House though? It's just House.
It's just House.
It's him, yeah.
But then you could have like Trump in there, I guess.
And then and then Trump comes in. And he's just like, he's falling apart. He's not doing very well. He's not doing. Do you guys see this this breaking Trump news? By the way, he's announced he's launching a social media network. You saw this?
Yep.
Yeah, trying it again.
He's a little too late, I would say.
Yeah.
A little late to the show.
Oh wait, no, hold on a second. I've got breaking news. My mom just texted me. She says, take off your jacket. People are saying your t-shirt says IP USA. No, it's just TP USA.
USA.
All right, Mom, for you, I'm going to do it. She's down in Florida right now.
Let's
Nice.
talk about let's go back. We were talking about Soros for a minute. Okay.
Oh.
We got the story from the Daily Mail. Magnificent Mile no more. Chicago is blighted by shoplifting as another American city goes down the toilet because its left-wing AG stops prosecuting shoplifters who steal less than $1,000 of goods.
This again.
It's a viral video of people. So the Mag Mile, for people who don't know Chicago, is this like strip of, just really nice shops.
It's like touristy.
Yeah, it's touristy. Yeah, I don't know.
Is it
who
Michigan
goes there.
Avenue?
Yeah, Michigan. And they've got their, Forever 21 and Gucci or whatever. But there's a video of these people running in and just like young men stealing a bunch of stuff and then running out. It's very, very reminiscent
It's so progressive.
San Francisco.
It's so progressive,
I
isn't it, folks?
I just love the idea that seemingly like as if it's coordinated, another city says anything under $1,000, we will not prosecute. What do you think happens when you're like, bro, if you come out and you say, ladies and gentlemen, marijuana possession is now decriminalized, 30 grams or less or whatever they did in whatever state. And then people are going to be like, okay. And they'll go get some. And then when you're like, we're also going to
36 grams, I'm good.
Decriminalizing stealing stuff under $1,000, they're going to be like, all right. And they're going to walk in and they're going to hold their bag and they're going to scan every item. And it's
$9.91, $9.92.
They're going to have a bag of groceries, scan it at the self-checkout. It'll say $8.99.99 and they'll go, thank you. And they'll walk out without paying.
Good to go.
And the police officers don't even want to respond to any of these calls. We were talking about this with Michael, what was his name? Schellenberger?
Yeah.
Schellenberger yesterday, since he worked with Soros, of course. So this is something that Soros has been making.
And he was a Soros guy.
huge, a huge impact on when it comes to setting policies that directly affect people. Now, when you look at storefronts that are affected, it's not just the big box stores, it's also middle class, it's also small businesses that are affected here. There's a big conspiracy online saying that a lot of the big billionaires are actually financing this so everything goes digital and real stores are kind of thrown and kicked out of existence. And already there was kind of this retail apocalypse that we were seeing just a few years ago because of the internet that started. This apocalypse has been made worse, but when these laws are implemented and stores are barren because people are just gathering their friends, coming in there 10 deep, 20 deep and just taking whatever they want as long as it's under $1,000 and able to get away with it, what is that going to lead? That's going to lead a lot of these stores not being open, everything to be more digitized. So there's a theory going around that this is even bigger and that George Soros and other people are involved here in order to push this retail apocalypse. Now again, that's a lot of assertions, but in our modern day,
you will own nothing and you will be happy.
Exactly.
You'll have no body and you'll be happy.
And then you also have a
That's
war
the
on cash
transhumanist
that way,
phrase,
because when you have a war on retail, you have a war on kind of free enterprise, people being able to exchange goods with cash anonymously instead of just having everything tracked, traced, and database online.
But wouldn't you want to be plugged into your own personal matrix?
The metaverse, excuse me.
Yeah,
it's
the
called
metaverse.
Mark Zuckerberg,
from Zuckerberg
calls it the metaverse.
Well,
now.
listen. You look outside your window in Chicago, and what do you see? Crime, gun battles, gangs, and you say to yourself, I am going to plug into the Oasis, Mark Zuckerberg's metaverse.
That's Ready Player One, the Oasis.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
See, Ready Player One was transhumanist propaganda because they want you to think it'll be like the Oasis. Oh, it'll be this cool video game and we get to, all play and it'll be like all our favorite games and movies. And there's this whole John Hughes thing. I read the book too. I even read Ready Player 2. I like the books, but that's not what it's going to be like, right? Because it's going to be like, remember, he lives in a trailer park, this giant trailer park.
The Stacks.
That's going to be the whole world. They kill his family. They kill his mom.
Yeah, they crush her, right?
Yeah, they crush her. Jeez. And there's like this corporate drone strike that like takes her out and his entire neighborhood. That's going to be the world. And then you're not going to be someone who has like a physical, self other than some like corpulent ball of goo, right? You're going to be like in Wall-E, right?
No, sure. In the real, like, have you seen Surrogates?
Yeah.
So it's, for those who aren't familiar, Surrogates is the movie where everyone has a robot version of themselves.
Right.
But like in the beginning, two people meet. It's like a hot chick and a guy, and then when they try to track, they get murdered because this device can kill them through the surrogate. Surrogates are basically robots that you control from your house for safety reasons. And then they track this guy, the woman down. Turns out it's a big, morbidly obese man using a woman's body. So a lot of this, people think they're going to live in this digital virtual world where they will be whatever their self-identified person is, or But if you actually think about it, whenever it comes to these authoritarian ideologies, the low-ranking individuals who foment it by protesting or rioting or demanding it think there's going to be some beautiful new world. We're going to have all this free stuff. I love that meme, right? Where the guy said, what are you going to do once communism is established? Yeah. And then he's like, I'll probably take some art classes, hang out with my friends, do some farm classes on my farm, and then maybe go to the store, and then someone's like, your farm?
Hilarious.
These people don't get it.
Hilarious.
No,
I actually saw a good one of those.
Like Black Mirror.
I saw a twist on that actually recently.
The Gulag version?
Where they were saying it. No. It was, it was one where they were saying, so what do you want to do in the new world? And it was like a woman, and they go, oh, well, just like kind of raise my family, take care of my kids, maybe do some gardening, sort of hang out, read, write some poetry. And they said, so you want to be a trad wife?
Yeah.
They're like, no.
Your kids.
Yeah, your kids.
Our kids.
The village
I saw a
kids.
similar meme of an NPC being like, during communism, I'm going to write poetry and study, and practice my slam poetry. And then it's another NPC with a machine gun in the next frame saying, off to the gulag.
No. The better one is, it's a guy with glasses and like a hipster haircut, and it's green, and he's crying, and he said, there must be some mistake. I'm a web blogger. I should be writing stories. And the guy pointing the gun says, shut up and break the rocks.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm-hmm. That's the future.
There must be some mistake. I supported all of this.
There's a reason we don't talk about the Mensheviks anymore.
To be fair though, if they do this metaverse thing where they want you to spend most of your life in a digital world
controlled by Mark Zuckerberg.
Sure. The problem isn't going to, it's going to be Brave New World. It's not going to be this it's not going to be a digital gulag. It's going to be a digital.
It's a pleasure palace.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
They're going to be giving you all of the great things you want, and if you defy them, they take those things away from you.
You'll be getting paid to eat digital food instead of real food.
Weird.
Like if you're hungry, they'll be like, eat this digital broccoli for a token, and then you'll do it. And
Why?
You'll skip a meal because it'll be hard to get food to people. So that this will be ways to
if they can do true
and
like
then
immersive
and then you get like a dose of nutrients in the real world.
Yeah, they'll be
injectable
nutrient paste or something. I just picked up MSN, a Business Insider article. Jack Dorsey mocks Zuckerberg's metaverse plan, saying it's dystopian.
Wow.
Oh, really, Jack?
Wow.
Come on,
I think Jack's
dude.
more legit than people give him credit for, but he's not in a position.
But that's my point. That
He's
actually
a
going to do about it?
billionaire.
Oh yeah, that.
How much money did he give away to like social justice causes? Spare me. The dude's a coward.
I mean, regarding Twitter, he's not in a position with Twitter to do anything with Twitter anymore. He sold the company basically.
Yeah, but he could buy up large portions of it back.
He's got Square and he's working with Bitcoin.
He doesn't care,
tweeted
dude.
out Rothbards.
I have heard
he could get in the fight.
I have heard enough from
yeah.
him.
He's speaking out against Zuckerberg's
I have heard so much from this guy about what he was planning to do for the past several years. He never does.
Well, sometimes you
and
do it
then
in
what
secret.
happens is he says, "I'm going to make a social media platform that's crypto based on the blockchain, so you can't ban people." And then he does nothing. But when he says it, everyone's like, "Oh yeah, look at Jack Dorsey." So now he comes out and he's like, "Mark Zuckerberg's dystopian," and people are like, "Oh yeah, Jack Dorsey, shut up. He's not doing anything."
See, this is how I feel about Jon Stewart. That's exactly how I feel about Jon Stewart. And I agree with you on Darcy, by the way. I feel the same way about Elon Musk.
Bongino is threatening to walk away from his entire syndicated radio
it's just words.
show.
I mean, we're all talking about people just talking right now.
I still think Zuckerberg...
Steve Bannon was like, shove it.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're going to arrest you. And he's like, shove
let
it.
me, and I'll, just cause I've actually read the legal filings from Bannon's lawyers and from his team, and like he and I haven't discussed this or anything, even though, I co-host on War Room a lot. So I've had like a ton of people hitting me up. Oh, what's Steve going to do? What's Steve going to do? It's right there in the filings. He's pointed out that he did testify in front of Mueller. He did go to the Senate. He did go to the House. He's testified 3 separate occasions. And he actually says that he'd be happy to testify again. But
it's the floor vote's not going to.
They want to ask him about, this is the legal side. They want to ask him about his conversations with Trump. And the thing is, when he had those conversations with Trump, this is prior to January 20th. That means Trump was the sitting president of the United States.
Executive privilege.
That's under executive privilege. The House, which is part of Congress, is part of the legislative branch. And the Supreme Court has held this for a long time, that those branches, that this is a check against each other.
Right. But Jack, laws don't matter when you
when
you run an empire. Look what they did to Michael Flynn. Look what they did to so many other people that stood in their way. They took them down. I still believe Dorsey and Zuckerberg are just front people, in my personal opinion, a part of the larger kind of agenda that they're pushing.
Well, the larger agenda is ESGs from BlackRock, and them essentially giving an ESG is a corporate social credit score. So BlackRock has the money because they've been given these loans. They can get it directly from the Fed through the Cantillon effect, right? They're not seeing the inflation on their end. But then if anybody else wants the investment, if anybody else wants to boost their stocks through BlackRock buying whatever percentage they're buying of you, do they have 7% of Pfizer today, 4% of Pfizer today? It fluctuates. I was actually talking to a guy about this, and he owns a utilities company in Pennsylvania, and he was saying like, BlackRock has been buying and selling our stock for years, and they won't even talk to us. Like, we've tried to reach out to them, and they won't even get on the phone with us, and they'll be spending millions and millions of dollars because of this. And when they go into it, they'll say, what's the purpose? We have no idea. But now when you see Larry Fink and the rest of them pushing these ESGs, it's essentially you've got a bunch of Wall Street boomers that are saying, oh, we've got $9 trillion in assets as a money management firm. So how do we then impose our vision of this utopia on everybody else? Well, you come up with these ESGs. And if you want access to that capital, you've got to go along with your corporate social credit score.
What's ESG mean?
Environmental social governance.
What is it exactly?
It's a corporate social credit score. So it's the idea, it's a score that even Zuckerberg is going to be under, so even Twitter is going to be under, that if you, it's literally like
a corporate social credit score.
Social credit score.
And I'm happy you brought this up because I remember researching this a little bit.
And this is fully understanding.
Yeah,
this is all the Great Reset.
The Great Reset, but it's also the woke agenda. It explains why so many of these same policies are kind of brought out in unison by all these very powerful forces all at once, and they kind of doubled down on them. But that's why we see the Pope literally work with MasterCard and Visa and meet with them in order to push for the Great Reset, in order to try to implement it as fast as they can. And again, they outline everything they're doing. It's in their own documents. It's on their website. They brag about it. The World Economic Forum literally makes
very clear about
super futuristic videos about how glorious everything's going to be, how fun everything's going to be, how convenient and better everything's going to be when you just give up those pesky rights. You just give up those pesky civil liberties or your freedoms and liberties.
Have you seen
Yes,
Kingsman?
of course. Yeah, that was
Here's the most important takeaway, though.
They're doing a new Kingsman, right?
Yeah, third one.
Yeah.
Well, it's a prequel, though.
Right.
I think.
In the movie Kingsman, a tech billionaire is trying to figure out how to stop global warming by having the poor people all purge themselves, and he gives the elites a device to protect them. But the most important takeaway from that film is that the leader of Kingsman is in on it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get the Pope coming out, like the leaders are all like agreeing about this.
Listen, I actually pulled this up before I came out today. World Economic Forum 2016 from the Global Future Councils. Welcome to the year 2030. Welcome to my city, or should I say, our city.
What?
I don't own anything. I don't own a car. I don't own a house. I don't own any appliances or clothes. It might seem odd to you, but it makes perfect sense for us in this city. Everything you considered a product has now become a service.
That's most communist.
So like when you wake up, a guy clothes you, or what?
No, it's like
borrowing clothing?
No, it's like you'll rent clothes, like the way you rent a tux, or there's like rent the one way.
Yeah.
It's already started. Right?
What about retirement? Does that
so
just
you
no
rent
more retirement?
it, and then you have them for like a week. You wear the clothes, then you put them back to the service, then you get the next one.
And if you say I hate the government, they take your clothes away.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, they shut off your ability to be able to buy stuff, to be able to go to
If you want
the
to open
supermarket.
if you want to open your smart fridge,
Are they going to try and electrically shock brains to pacify people? Is that what?
Well,
we're headed towards?
I haven't read anything about that in the World Economic Forum documents and what they kind of strive to achieve, but everything's out there on their website. They did delete that one famous article where they said you will own nothing, you will have no privacy, and you will be happier than ever. They deleted that, so you have to actually go and
didn't they try to say like, oh no, this was a submission
Yes.
to a thing and it wasn't? I'm like, your logo is on the video.
Right. But they're literally talking about controlling so many aspects of your existence. I mean, Bill Gates is
this
literally...
is the clear.
Yeah. Bill Gates is, of course, on board with this. He's working and financing technology that will literally have implantable microchips that will control if you could have children with an on and off button. Yes, look up Bill Gates microchips funding in a way that could control your fertility on and off through electricity. So they're working on controlling.
I don't believe you.
I don't care.
What's that
Look
right
it
there?
up.
The fertility chip.
Yes.
No, this is
false claim from Reuters.
No, that was the false claim was about coronavirus.
Yes. So some people are conflating this with coronavirus. It has nothing to do with coronavirus. But this is just
what is this? What is this?
This is what I'm talking about. This is what Bill Gates is financing. He's literally financing an implantable chip.
It's a birth control.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Pregnancy tracker.
That people...
No. Hold on.
Is it?
I got no problem with you saying that Bill Gates wants to create a chip that can turn off fertility.
Exactly.
But as long as you give us the full framing of it.
Yes.
Bill Gates is working on what they say is a pregnancy tracking app. And, I don't know what this website is. Glassroom. And fertility activity, they say some invasive, blah, blah, blah. The general idea is that women would be able to have birth control or something.
No, not just that. It's about controlling fertility with an on and off button that someone else will control. So this is another layer.
Remote control contraceptive chip available by 2018.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
All right.
And the article's from 2014.
Now, right, it's from 2014. They say the chip is implanted under a woman's skin, releasing a small dose of levonorgestrel, a hormone.
Birth control.
This
Project
will happen
has been
every
backed
day
by
for
Bill
16
Gates.
years, but can be stopped at any time by using a wireless remote control. The project has been backed by Bill Gates. There's a big difference between a woman wanting birth control and being like, I can turn it off when I decide to have a kid. And Bill Gates
financing this.
It doesn't say that you can turn
Okay,
it on.
all I'm saying is
Dude.
Bill Gates is financing this, and Bill Gates is all along with this great economic, the Great Reset. He's going along with this agenda, and he's creating technological evolutions. We're talking about literally VR. So what makes you think that this is not going to be a part
like
of it?
They're going to force you to not be able to have kids, when in reality it's people choosing not to have kids.
Yes and no on certain levels, because if they're controlling your existence through VR, what makes you think that they won't move into another step? I mean, this is technology that China would have loved to have a few years ago that they would have implemented right away. So when we're talking about VR headsets and controlling our reality through this,
by the way,
this is another layer to it that people need to understand, because there is a large portion of people pushing this that do talk about the need of reducing the world population, of getting rid of people because they pollute, and we have to have climate change effective green policies that get rid of people. So when you have Bill Gates being able to create a technology that could turn people's fertility on and off, that switch, that power is something that we should be talking about, especially when it comes to, theorizing. I'm not saying this is going to happen directly, but I'm saying the technology is being built. Their plans are kind of out there in their own websites, on their own documents. They're talking about it themselves. So when they're implementing a lot of this, you should be concerned and you should raise questions. That's all I'm saying here. I'm not saying I have a prophecy of what's going to happen here, because no one does.
That reminds me of a story. So when I lived in China, I was visiting, it was a friend of mine who had basically an uncle that lived out in the countryside from Shanghai. And in the county where he lived, he had one of the largest factories, and he ran it very well. It was a toy factory. And because he ran it so well, the county party chairman wanted to reward him. And as a reward, he was allowed to have a second child.
Whoa. Yes.
So, and I remember meeting, and this was just, my friend's uncle and his two kids. And I remember just hanging out with the family, and we're just, playing around, doing whatever. But then sitting there thinking that this human being, this person that I'm like just, rolling a ball back and forth with, they exist because the Chinese Communist Party decided that due to your loyalty and your leal service to the party and to the country, that you can be allowed to create an extra life.
Exactly.
And had he not, by the way, they would have taken it away.
And the same globalist that implemented and inspired and put into place the Chinese one-child policy, that implemented that everything that has China become, are the same people or the same minds or the same, quote, intellectuals behind the World Economic Forum.
This has been my theory of the case as well.
Exactly.
That the World Economic Forum and the Great Reset are America and the West's answer to the CCP program and the authoritarianism.
They want
the
you
system
to live like people are living in China right now.
They
under
want
a social
that
credit score.
Absolutely.
And they're going to bring layers to this that are mind-boggling. And at first, people think you're crazy when you bring up what they could potentially do to you. But when they have the technology, when they're building this, we have to start asking why.
But here's the difference. The difference is in the West, because we have a tradition of personal choice that they don't have in the East. It won't necessarily be that they can control the remote. But they'll sit there and say, "Oh, you should do this. It'll be better for the country. It'll be better for the environment, better for the planet, better for the future."
Or cancel culture.
This is the antinatalist movement, or a cancel culture, right? Will come up. So all of these various propaganda campaigns will be pushed throughout society. You'll see propaganda movies, you'll see propaganda Netflix, you'll see propaganda TV shows, all talking about pushing these issues that go along with the
it's a combination. It's like Brave New World, that they do it through Pleasure, and 1984. It's a combination of both worlds coming together. Yesterday I said it was like Revenge of the Nerds and 1984. But in reality, when you look at the techniques that they're using to pacify the general public, a lot of it has to do with pleasing them, brainwashing them. And there's also a part of it, it's the carrot and the stick. And that's how they are going to implement a lot of this.
I know exactly what to say to bring up what Luke is talking about, because it's through the lens of something that we're seeing every day. Look at what they're saying about the unvaccinated. Look at the way they're saying that unvaccinated people should not be given priority in hospitals. Now what happens if unvaccinated people go to the hospital and they say, "Oh, I need a C-section. I'm having a problem with my pregnancy. I need an emergency C-section." "Oh, but you're unvaccinated."
Yep.
Right? What happens then?
Yeah, there's already
well, ma'am, your
down
social
this road.
credit score is actually quite impressive, but your baby is registering a 0, and we can't help the baby if that's the case.
It's already happening in Italy.
There's a lot of Gattaca.
We were talking about the video yesterday. There's people being denied medical services. There's people being denied organ transplants in the United States because, let's be honest here, they don't have the right social credit score please approval system by the federal government. And when we're living in a society that's already this divisive, discriminatory, where they're saying die unless do what the government wants you to do, I mean, this is a level that it's very hard to go back from.
Luke, you just go to the government website. You don't even have to think about it.
Don't even have to think.
Exactly. That's the thinking that's going to lead us down to living like the average person in China right now.
I think one of the things that concerns me about the remote control contraceptive chip that they're talking about is that it's always on. So if a woman gets it in her body at the age of 14, it's always on and the remote control turns it off. But if the remote control malfunctions, it's always on and she can no longer have kids.
Women,
and who's controlling the remote control?
What percentage of women are being medicated with hormonal treatments at a young age already?
Huge.
A large number of them.
Huge.
Yes.
And you're starting now to, by the way, see the pushback against this because people are talking about the absolutely horrific side effects of birth control and what it does to women. Yeah, I mean, it used to be a punchline. Hillary Clinton attacked Breitbart for talking about this during the election, but I think they were just a little bit ahead of the curve, and now everybody's talking about this.
Yeah, I used to think birth control, whatever. Now it's like I respect a woman that doesn't want to use it.
Yeah,
I think people need to realize that it's a hormonal treatment. It's going to change the way you think.
Exactly.
I remember reading a story where they said that women who are about to get married should get off birth control for 6 weeks and then check to see if they enjoy the smell of their fiance.
Oh yeah.
Because what was happening was a lot
I remember that. Yeah.
Women would be on birth
Really
control.
weird.
They'd be like, I'm going to marry this guy. Then as soon as they got married, okay, let's have a kid, get off birth control. And she'd be like, whoa, he smells really bad and I don't want to have kids with him. It's like, because the hormonal treatment you were on was changing.
I'm going to keep going on this Alex Jones track.
Do
Plus, the birth control can't be filtered out and is passed on to a lot of people unknowingly.
Bill Gates is going to get the microchips.
So Luke, are you saying
the bumblebees are going to be involved here.
Hold on, are you saying that these female hormones from the birth control are going in the water where there are frogs?
Yes.
And,
Thank you. We did it.
And we did
We did it. But it's true. It's having a neurological.
They're turning the freaking frogs gay.
Exactly. It's having a neurological effect on so many different people. And what are the effects? Well, you could see record infertility. We see sperm counts going down.
You'll be infertile and you'll be happy.
Exactly. Well, there's a big component to this with limiting human growth, limiting people having the ability to have their own children. So there's a lot. There's so many layers to this.
You know, I see with this and you know, like, you know, people say like, oh, Jack, how did you become conservative? Like, no, I was raised Catholic. My whole family's Catholic, both sides, all the way back. You know, that's how we look at things. And the more and more, this is one of the dangers of transhumanism. And Joe Allen out there is a great guy who writes on this. You know, one of the biggest dangers of that is that the more and more you cybericize yourself, the more and more you give yourself your autonomy, your physical self over to your neurological self over to these machines, right? The more you hook yourself up to these machines to become like a Darth Vader type creature, then you're cutting yourself off from any type of spiritual life. You're cutting yourself off from any kind of transcendent experiences that you could be having through prayer, through meditation, if you're more on the secular side. But, you know, you are not going to be able to do that. Why?
Yeah.
Because your own thoughts are going to be controlled by these mechanisms.
There's a reason they go after your pineal gland. I could continue on this track.
Well, no.
I'm going to stop.
I pulled up a source. We got it from NPR.
Have you checked with the Clockwork Elves?
After show material right here.
I pulled up a story from NPR, and what they actually say is there's some other stories saying that the estrogen in the water is actually less than 1% is from improperly disposed of medications. Mm-hmm. What NPR does say though is plastics leach BPA into your water.
Bisphenol is what it's called.
And it is an estrogenic chemical, so it mimics estrogen.
Don't touch receipts.
So if you're drinking, we got these beautiful glass bottles here. This is Timcast Pure.
This was fantastic, by the way. I just finished that.
Double 9-stage filter. That's water right there, baby.
Bisphenol A. Not all plastic has it in it, but a lot of it did until recently.
Stay away from seed oils. Don't trust, don't touch receipts because of the material receipts.
Yes, I heard about that too.
Yeah.
That also wreck your testosterone.
My brother talks about, so there's the soy boy thing.
Get it away from me, CBS.
A lot of conservatives were like, these hipsters are eating so much soy, it's making them effeminate. And so my brother was talking about this. He was like, yeah, but soy is a phytoestrogen. It's a weaker form of estrogen. So actually, the natural estrogens in your body would be displaced.
Yeah, it messes
we started talking about it, and I think what I actually ended up saying was, well, hold on a minute. If a dude is getting a small amount of estrogen that's potent, but then gets a massive flood of less potent estrogen, but still more of it, it will have a estrogenic effect on the man, feminizing him. And for women who are getting a larger amount of stronger estrogen, they're now having that blocked by
being
phytoestrogens.
displaced.
So it's effectively androgenizing men and women.
Hey, speaking of, we just got glass bottles now.
In all
what I do.
seriousness, huge. I mentioned my mom's watching, but huge shout out, by the way, to my grandmother passed away in 2012, but she was talking about all this stuff in the 1990s.
Good for her.
She was so far ahead of the curve, literally all the things we just discussed. And, it used to be one of those things where like, okay, grandma, whatever, and she would go to, there wasn't Whole Foods at the time, but she would go and she would get organic and she would put things in Tupperware and bring her own food everywhere. She's like, I don't want chemicals. I want real food. I don't want anything messing with that stuff. I don't want the estrogen that's in everything. I don't want the estrogen that's in the meat, by the way, because of what they give factory processed, animals. And she was 100% right about so much of this stuff. 100% right. Everybody talks about it now, cutting edge. And she actually wrote something, before she passed away that years ago I recorded like as an audiobook just to, she would give it out at her church and stuff to people. And I keep wondering like, will I be incredibly sued by the FTC if I just go back and re-release that thing?
That'd be awesome.
We have so many farms around here. We took a ride. We stopped at this little farm stand, and the gentleman there was selling fresh tenderloins from a neighboring farm, and it was clean, grass-fed, right there on the spot. And he was like, "You could eat it raw. It's clean meat." And we cooked it up pretty medium rare, amazing. You don't know what you're getting when you go to these supermarkets and you're getting corn-fed beef and you're getting salmon. They dye, reddish orange because they're actually gray fish from the farm.
You don't know what you're getting at a restaurant either.
Every single one of my grandparents had a działka. And in Polish, that means just a plot of land that you could farm on. So they would always farm their own food because in Poland, a lot of the buildings...
And it's not big. It's like
it's a small plot, but you grow
really
your own fruit, you grow your own vegetables, you have a little farm that's dedicated to you, and there's these little plots outside of these major buildings because communists just had this kind of brutalist architecture where they had these huge buildings where everyone was just crammed into, and whenever there was room, they would create these little plots where people would grow their own food because during communism, there's not a lot of food. So every single one of my grandparents made sure that they always made their own food.
When we were visiting sort of the Pasobik hometown back in Poland, and it's like an hour outside of Krakow. And it's near Rzeszów, you know where that is. Like
I know Krakow,
kind of towards Lviv, like towards the border, Lvov, I should say, to my Polish friends out there. That you wake up and you go around town, and it's like, okay, across the street, Bob's got the chickens. Let me get some eggs. Then you go down here. All right, so we get some fish going.
There's people in open markets selling their
butcher,
produce.
Wet markets.
We'll go down.
They're so
not
popular.
wet markets, but
technically black markets. There's people saying
wet markets, but like
the animals and their
definitely not like that.
Black markets.
I lived in China too.
Black markets, yes. Tim gets it. He's talking about black markets.
And then you go across the bridge, and then the cousins are there with the cows, and you get fresh milk, and then you just go do that once in the morning, and then that's the food that you eat for the day. And there wasn't this, this sort of like very Western modernist idea of I'm going to go to the supermarket and then stock up on stuff for like a week or 2 weeks, the Costcoification of everything.
Yeah.
You go, and there's no such thing as farm to table because that's just food.
Yeah.
Like there's no difference.
Do you speak Polish?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay.
I mean, like...
Kto to widział, że ty po polsku nie mówisz?
Po polsku очень плохо.
To niedobrze. Musisz się nauczyć mówić po polsku, żeby cię ludzie rozumieli.
Let's get a one in the chat.
Mandarin, though. Say, it's funny though. Once China takes over,
Mandarin, right?
Who's going to be better off?
That was awesome.
Right now, so I will be able to. What I'm going to do is my job in the gulags will be to teach the Mandarin classes to all of you, so that we will be able to communicate with the guards.
Yeah, Luke, you speak Polish, but how's that going to help us when the communists take over?
I don't think I'm going to be around when that happens.
如果他们共产党的话，他们就是只是我们美国人放我们到的菜地的话，我跟和他们家人说普通话。我不是和他们，我是支持你们。
Hey guys, I think she's choking on something. We might want to get her some help.
I love that tone. I love Chinese culture. I used to read
American accent.
Romance of the Three Kingdoms was like a childhood treasure to me, and the heroes, Liu Bei.
You read the book?
Yeah, twice.
Oh wow,
and played the video games and everything. And I'm still confused. Like, I know the Republic of China went to Taiwan, the government fled basically, and now that in the CCP, but CPC, I'm being told, and like, there's so much. I want peace between nations, but I also understand like appeasement. Like Neville Chamberlain appeased Hitler, gave him the Sudetenland, and then Hitler invaded Poland. It's like, should we have appeased Hitler in the early days?
It wasn't like Hitler. That? It was Russia and Germany that invaded Poland. They made a pact. And
2 weeks
and
of
they
Molotov-Ribbentrop
from the left and the right.
So September 1st was Germany. September 17th, 1939 was Russia.
Yeah, and the Polish people said, "Screw it, we're still going to fight both of you, even though we're going to lose. We're still going to fight."
If there's any diplomatic route between the Chinese people and the American people, I'm all
well, there certainly is. So the Chinese people, you'd say Lao Baixing, which is known as, it's the old 100 names because, that's sort of like the 100 surnames of China. And there's a difference between the Lao Baixing and the party. So the party's the CCP, and if you actually calculate the numbers, we always say the 1% in the U.S., it's actually less than 1% of the 1.4 billion population of China is a member of the party. So being a member of the party, what they'll do is they co-opt, right? So as you're on your way up, China, it's a very meritorious society. So if you're doing well in school, if you're doing well in business, if you're seen as someone who's notable in any one of these fields, what they'll do is that at some point the party comes up to you and offers you membership. And then being a member of the party becomes your way to gain access to greater capital, to greater funds, to greater networking. So in that way, they're able to maintain control over all these industries. But then, of course, they've also got eyesight into what exactly you're doing. So prior to social media and technological surveillance, right, they would just assign somebody. They'd assign a guy. So you'd have a minder for your work. Every work unit would have a party member. Every apartment block would have a party member. And then they would be keeping track. Who's getting married, who's having kids, who's getting divorced, who died, who's moving, who's going here and there. So they have this mass surveillance network within the country writ large. They don't even need the technology for that, and that still continues to this day.
The Lao Baixing are like old family names, the old families?
Yeah.
Like the Liu family, the Shu family, like just those names you hear, XU, LIU.
So it's like saying the hoi polloi or saying, the proletariat or the deplorables, in the U.S. It's just saying like the little guys.
Are they, against the CCP?
No, they're underneath. They're underneath the CCP.
Do they do the last name first in China?
They do.
So, like Xi Jinping?
Xi would be the family name.
Oh, okay. So his actual name is, so as people refer to him as Xi.
So Chairman Xi, right.
But his name is actually Jinping.
Jinping? Yeah, so they don't really, you don't really address somebody by their first name like the way we do in the U.S.
Unless you're with other members of their family.
Yeah, it's very familiar to do that. Like I wouldn't do that.
And there's like
we used to do that back in my neighborhood, just refer to people by their last names.
We do that in the military too, yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't there you give people like a common name if you know them pretty well? Like Kong Ming would be Zhuge Liang's, I don't know. Zhuge Liang. They called him Kong Ming, like the people that know him. What kind of name?
Zhuge Liang is a little bit different because Zhuge is his last name, but it's very, very rare to have a double syllable last name in China, but he actually had one.
That guy was smart, huh?
Very smart.
The story of him sitting on the wall playing the lute with the doors open. Can you tell the story? Do you know it?
I don't know the whole story off the top of my head.
Anybody know it?
Yeah, he was
the general.
They were basically outnumbered and being invaded by, I don't remember who. Shao Dun, I hope, is the person that was doing. I don't remember. Some general under Cao Cao, I think, was coming to invade the city, and they just opened the gates, and Zhuge Liang went up and sat there and played his, what was it, a lute?
A lute.
He played
like a lute.
And they came there and they saw him and they were like, this is a trap.
Right.
So they turned this huge army and they retreated.
Is a trap.
Amazing.
He opened the gates and he sat up on the wall just playing, and they were like, no.
Nope.
Oh, wait, that's Zhuge Liang. We have to,
Yeah,
it's like, it reminds me of, the dude from, who is the guy in Princess Bride? Who was
Wesley?
No, the smart guy. Not Fezzik.
Oh.
I can't remember his name.
What's his name?
Carrie
Wallace
Ools?
Shawn?
No, the smart guy who was like, inconceivable.
Yeah, it's Wallace Shawn is the
but
actor.
what's the character's name?
I
don't know. Let's find out.
How could I not
I
remember
thought
that?
Fezzik was his name.
No, that's the giant.
That's
the giant? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Vicini? Was that it?
Yeah. Vicini.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Vicini. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this reminds me of like one instance where it actually worked out. When Zhuge Liang sits on the wall and plays the lute. It's like, I know that you know that I know.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he ends up winning out.
He was constantly in with this guy, Sima Yi, is that how you pronounce his name? Cao Cao's advisor, and there was this constant like battle of checkers between the two of them, or chess, throughout the years. It's an incredible, the Three Kingdoms is incredible.
Yeah, that's
history.
actually, Cao Cao is actually, we have the phrase in English of, speak of the devil and he shall appear. Well, in Chinese they have 一说 Cao 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 就到. So it's like actually like a similar, if you speak of Cao Cao, Cao Cao shall appear.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Because it's like the hero in the story. I don't want to, it's hard to spoil a 600-year-old novel, but basically the heroes, in my opinion, they don't succeed, which is the sad part. It's like a tragic history.
It's tragedy, yeah.
But it's just a beautiful story of brotherhood. Someone actually said, Ian, Luke, and Tim, you're like Liu Bei, Guan Yu, and Zhang Fei. I'm like, these are like my heroes.
What'd you just call me?
I'm not sure which one you are. Maybe Guan Yu, I'm not sure. But it's like the three heroes basically that are up against all odds. I love that.
Did you ever read Journey to the West?
No.
That one's great too. The Monkey King. So you got that's the next one. That's your homework. Next time I come back, I want to see it.
Thank you.
Fezzik was the giant.
Fezzik was giant. Okay, that was Andre the Giant.
Yep.
And then Vicini was.
They're remaking it.
Yeah. Oh no!
Oh no! No. See, my favorite thing about Princess Bride is that it's actually kind of low budget. Yeah. When you think of it, like when they're on that night scene at sea, you can tell it's like a pool, like an indoor pool with just like the lights turned off. But I like that. I like that aspect. And the rats of unusual size are rodents of unusual size. They're just like obviously like really, really poorly made Muppets.
What's the hero of the West? This novel you're talking about?
Monkey King.
Monkey King.
Uh-huh.
What's that about?
It's kind of like
they steal a giant gorilla and bring him to New York, and he climbs a building.
Oh, so you read it?
Is that what it is?
Well, no, so it's this idea that going to the West and going to the West in China, of course, is like going out to the desert, but that you sort of like you find yourself, you're faced with your own fears, you're faced with your own foibles, your own shortcomings as a person, but then to seek wisdom, you need to face yourself.
Cool.
Yeah, so these are considered some of the and the other one's Dream of a Red Chamber. So these are considered the three great classics of China.
You know the movie Hero?
Mm-hmm.
What was it? Apparently there was a controversy around that. It's a Jet Li, and he's trying to preserve the word or something.
Well, so
I heard it was banned in China though.
Well, so no. Hero, no. Hero was like funded by the CCP.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no. Hero is a super pro CCP movie, and I'll spoil the heck out of that one. So in Hero, it's kind of like Star Wars, right? So you've got an empire and you've got rebels. It's just ancient China instead of the future, or excuse me, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. But with the difference being that at the end, Luke Skywalker decides to murder his friends and join the Emperor. And basically you're told that's sort of like the great denouement of the film. At the climax, when he's about to kill the Emperor says, "Don't you understand? The only way that China can survive is if we have an empire. And so the Emperor must win. You must turn your back on the rebels." And he said, and then Jet Li becomes a hero by turning his back on his friends.
I gotta say, it would be really awesome if, at the end of Return of the Jedi, Vader's like, "Join the dark side," and Luke is like,
"All right, Dad."
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And, or if he was like, "Don't you see what will happen? The wars will break out, the fighting, everything you've witnessed." And Luke is like, "He's right. People are just bad." And then he joins the Emperor, and then he just starts, then you see Luke wearing the dark cloak, and he goes up to Han, and he's like, "Hey, what happened?" Just walks up to Leia and whoosh, cuts her head off. That would have been way better than whatever it is they made after these movies.
Seriously.
I don't even know what they made after those.
This is my issues with Chinese lore is the empire of it. Like even Liu Bei, who's one of my heroes of all time, was there to restore the emperor.
Well, see, this is the thing, right? China has always been a series of empires, and goes back to Confucianism, which is it's hierarchical. It's, the children must give homage to the father must give homage to the local leader must give homage to the regional leader, the provincial leader, and then eventually all the way up to the empire. So this has been, the way the CCP has structured itself is actually very traditional in Chinese society in certain ways when you look at it in terms of this hierarchy. And many people have looked at this and said that China is essentially the CCP is just the latest dynasty. It's not necessarily as familial as the former dynasties were, but it's a dynasty in many aspects.
Let's go to Super Chats.
Let's do
it. If you
it.
haven't already, smash that like button. Go to timcast.com, become a member. We're going to have a bonus members-only segment, but we also have a massive library of content you can check out. Really great conversations there over at timcast.com. Let's read what we got. And also, we're having an event this Saturday in the Harpers Ferry area. The tickets were free for members who are at $25 or more. Those are all gone. We're auctioning off 2 tickets at a time. So we just closed our first auction. Our next auction is up and live. Any member can bid if you'd like to. And there are 8 remaining tickets. So definitely check that out at timcast.com. All right. Michael Fernando Mello says, I refuse to show proof of vaccination. I will not bend the knee to Silicon Valley authoritarianism. Shout out to the Bay Area Mises Caucus. We love freedom. Rock on. Timcast, see y'all this Saturday. Very excited.
Very cool.
I have no idea what I'm going to do on Saturday either, because my plan was like just play pool, like, hang out at, it's like we have like a bar, and I don't know, but I guess I'm going to have to say something.
I have a correction in, by the way. I have a correction. This is from Mom again. Grandmom always used glass containers, never Tupperware.
Oh, never Tupperware.
Never
Smart.
Tupperware.
Very smart.
Very
All
smart.
right. Gerald Armstrong says, Jack, I'm a retired Navy vet, and I'm going to school for international politics, national security option at Penn State. I'm interested in the intel community. Can you be a mentor for me?
We are. I mean, look, I'll put it this way, joining the intel community is definitely not Jack Bauer. It's not James Bond. It's, wokeness and pronouns and everything else. That being said, I do think patriots need to go into the IC because we need to retake these institutions from the inside out. So yeah, reach out to me, shoot me an email. We'll get in touch.
Right on. All right. Let's see. Jake Angevine says, Iraq and Afghanistan vet here, trying to get a little spotlight on an issue near to me. K1 fiance visas are not being processed. It's been 2 years since I've seen my fiance. Wow. Jeez. Says hashtag love is not tourism. Great Reset. They don't want people traveling. So I don't know. It's weird, right? It's almost
no
like
traveling until you've gotten your social credit score up to where we need it.
Just tell them to go through the southern border.
Yeah.
All right.
Medic Knight says, Tim, ask Jack what he thinks of Dave Smith and the Libertarian Party Mises Caucus.
So I've referred to the libertarians as LOL libertarians for many years. I've also said, may God strike me down if I ever refer to myself as a classic liberal. But, the Mises, is it Mises or Mises? Mises. Okay. I've seen some interesting things from them, and we've communicated on the back end a little bit. So I'm pleasantly intrigued by the Mises Caucus.
I think they're great, namely because Michael Malice, press secretary. Oh, wow.
Yes.
I think about waking up in the morning, working every day. I wake up around 7 a.m. and I start reading the news. And there is just something about taking a day off, ordering some pizza. I haven't been eating any pizza, bread, or anything like that, but I would, in this instance, some wings, turning the TV on to watch Michael Malice give a press briefing, and then just relax. It'd be the most satisfying thing to watch, just him just tearing apart the press.
Fun.
It'd be great.
It would be incredible to have an anarchist in the government.
Worth it just
Well,
for that.
I mean, particularly Michael, because he's smart, well-read, and he's going to talk circles around these people.
Break down put sunset clauses on laws, less government for more benefit.
Oh, hey, check this out. I did notice this. Patrick Siegfried says, Tim, one of the two counter-protesters is at the Netflix protest with the We Like Dave sign was Dick Masterson. Don't you know the guy? I never met him. I did go on his show. We had like a funny internet beef or something. And then I went on a show and, everything's cool. But I did notice that. You guys know Dick Masterson?
No.
He's like a comedy podcast.
Yeah, somebody pointed that out.
The name rings a bell. So it was,
Dick Show,
he wasn't really there supporting Dave. He was just kind of like doing a bit.
No, he was promoting.
Oh, he was? Okay.
I'd assume so. He had a sign that said like, we like jokes. And I saw the video and I
he?
thought that was him. I was like, oh, hey. But, in the video of the guy getting attacked, it was just some other guy.
Decriminalize jokes.
I can't believe how insane that is.
Decriminalize
that
comedy.
you could show up, not even, this is the clever thing. Like this guy wasn't protesting. He was like, I like Dave. And they attacked him.
No.
Dave Chappelle should have gone.
I don't know, man.
I want to go find, the next time I'm speaking somewhere and there's going to be, a big protest, I want to go out and, join the protest and be like, Posobiec should be canceled. Get that guy off stage. That's, Kevin Smith did that. He protested Dogma. Yeah.
Yeah, that was smart.
Yeah.
All right. Doug Kaplan says, Tim, I watched your video earlier today and I think I get it when you explain about sleeping on the couch. I get some kind of phenomenon in my well-being. I feel I should help put transporting materials like on barges and with mixed martial arts. I really don't know how to explain this drive, but I pray for everyone's strength and courage to you all. So just to clarify the context there, the point I often make is that when I was working for Vice, I was sleeping on a couch. Vice was paying me moderately okay, and I said, I want to save all this money. And so I slept on my friend's couch instead. And then eventually I said, okay, I'll get an apartment for a little bit more. And then I had money saved up to do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. A lot of people aren't willing to save money like that. They're like, well, no, I'm going to get everything.
They want to be comfortable.
Yep.
I did that.
Listen to Dave Ramsey. Don't, if you're someone who's out there living debt to debt, or if you're using, I know people who, and this is what they want. They want you to be in debt. They want you to be serfs. They want you to be urban serfs, gig slaves, essentially. When you have but Amazon comes immediately, Uber Eats comes immediately, right? But you have no wealth. They don't want you to generate wealth. They want you to say, oh, look, this is cheaper. I'm going to go with this because I don't have any money saved. Spend. Don't own any clothes. Don't own any, don't even own any food. If they can find a way, Luke, that
microchip's going to be inside of you.
The microchip for your food.
Jeez. We got a big super chat that just came in, but I want to read it because this is cool. Evan Hogan says, yeah, going to have to give you guys at least $1,000 a month. I would give you more if it seemed like you needed it. Tales from the Inverted World hit a note with me. Reminded me of Sean Kennedy. Evan, massive super chat.
Wow.
Seriously, thank you so much.
You.
And I'm reading it because we are really trying to do more than just this show. We want to build cultural products, right? Netflix is woke garbage. They're caving into these protesters. We're not going to do that. I want to make content. Maybe, I'll say this. I fully plan to be bigger than Netflix 15 years, maybe. We'll see where we're at in 5 years, but that's the goal. This will all come to culmination with this ridiculously large streaming or digital or VR, whatever platform it becomes. Tales from the Inverted World is our new project. Mysteries, paranormal, true crime.
We get into a cult on that at all?
Oh, definitely. Absolutely.
Great.
Right now, Shane Cashman, the host and writer, is I don't know if he's still in Georgia. He went to Georgia to track down the lost Confederate gold after the war ended. Where did they hide it?
Right.
And he also, I don't want to spoil too much, but my understanding is he personally witnessed a UFO with a group of people who were out hunting. He's got a bunch of Civil War ghost stories. So we're going to have like this huge array of Civil War ghost stories, sightings, cryptids, conspiracy plots, creepy history stuff. And we are heavily investing in this show.
That's awesome.
With the staff. So we have to get the YouTube channel's new. So to put it mildly, investment means not making money, right? In the red. We want to get into that black. So Evan, if you really do want to help support a show like Tales from the Inverted World and help us make more of it, if you become a member at Timcast, they're just different tiers. Like $10 a month gets you all access to all the content. $25 or more gets you free tickets to our events. When we have these events, we're planning to do an event once every month, probably going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And then if you really want to just support the show and you're really digging the show, help us make more of it. Right now, Jessica is doing the art for the visuals of it. And it is a grueling, endless job. If we could hire more people, that would be absolutely fantastic. So that would be great.
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention while we're on the subject that don't dabble with the occult, don't mess around with Ouija boards, don't trust witches.
I love the occult. Stuff. I find it massively interesting. The Goetia, the study of demonology.
You can study it. You can study it.
Study it like a science.
Dabble.
Yeah.
So here we go. I didn't know this. Jeff Rock says, Tim is talking about Vito, who hosts Biggest Problem with Dick Masterson, who would be hilarious to have on. I didn't know. I saw Dick. I didn't know if it was for sure him, and I didn't realize the other guy was a part of his show. So the people at Netflix, for those that don't know, is the guys who do the Dick Masterson's podcast.
Well, maybe they were filming something then.
I feel like they were legitimately defending Dave Chappelle. I mean, I'm sure they were having fun with it.
No, I'm saying, but I bet you they were probably filming while they were doing it, so they probably have like something on their end as well.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, the videos are ridiculous. These people are insane. Someone mentioned, let me see, JR, who's a member, he said, just watch the video. The lady shaking the tambourine was shouting, repent, MFer.
But that's actually, we've talked about that before when I've come on, that they've turned all of this into a religion.
Oh,
that
definitely.
It is a theocracy that they're trying to institute across America, across the West. It is a secular theocracy, and I've talked about this before, that progressivism is it's secularists trying to outrun nihilism because they don't want to stare into oblivion, but they've killed God and they've taken God out of everything, which is why the Constitution doesn't work anymore and laws don't work anymore, as you were talking about. Yep. So they have to replace it with a new kind of God, a secular kind of God, and that becomes progressivism, that becomes wokeism,
money.
becomes all the rest of this.
It's a cult.
The worship of mammon.
Here's
more than
a
money.
good one.
Money.
Yeah.
It's more than money.
Ronan says, Jon Stewart had Ron Paul on The Daily Show when Fox was pushing Mitt Romney.
And he did support him and bring up how there was unfair media bias against Ron Paul. Again, not perfect. I understand your criticisms of him, but he did kind of speak out against the orthodoxy sometimes.
All right. The Roz Rodriguez says, Jack, I love you. You are my favorite on Twitter until I got permanently banned.
Follow me on Getter then. Get on Getter. Getter is, a great workaround from this. Apparently Trump's doing something now too, so we don't need to be on Twitter anymore. But thank you, my Droog. Thank you, and God bless you.
Sensei 2020 says, Tim, you need to have Colleen Noir on just one time. A big 2A advocate and lawyer out of Texas would be a great show. Open invitation.
Yeah, always has been.
Yeah, we should
a busy dude.
Follow up. I suppose.
I want to get the AK guy.
Hey, but we got Freedomistan now.
Yeah.
So we need to build the range out. But this is West Virginia, more than enough land for a nice shooting range. And then maybe we can have someone come out, maybe Colleen, and go christen the new range once we get it built.
Yeah.
So apparently there's a big excavation happening nearby, and they have a big sign saying "Free Dirt."
Ooh.
So
let's take some of that.
No,
exactly.
It. We're super excited. We're going to get all the dirt shipped over to make a giant backstop.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome. It's going to be absolutely
You
fantastic.
need them along the sides as well.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to it's going to be awesome.
Tim Kennedy would be a great guest too, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see what we got here. Zerk says, Josh was a father to very young children, head of the IT department, humble, incredibly nice, very intelligent, loving, etc. Cancer does a horrible job selecting victims, as if they deserve it. Oh, sorry to hear, man.
Screw cancer.
Yeah, bad stuff. All right. Theodore Herrera says, Jack, I have video of my sister who is a nurse being escorted out of her place of work. She was told she had to wear extra PPE because she was not vaxxed. She had religious exemption. Hi, Ian.
Hi.
I like that last part. Yeah. Hi.
So my question, send me the video because if she was asked to wear more PPE, did she not want to wear the more PPE? Like, why was she escorted out? I want to hear the rest of that story.
So this is from Theodore Herrera, I suppose. If I don't know, should he tweet at you or something?
Just shoot me a message at Human Events.
There you go. All right. Mitchell Dodd says, Jon Stewart has a new show on Apple TV. Last week's episode was called Freedom, where he argued in favor of government mandates over personal freedom.
Oh, okay.
I would like to just stress this point one more time.
He argued in favor of government mandates?
When people
Jon Stewart, ladies and gentlemen, Jon Stewart.
When people say, but what about the other vaccine mandates we already have in place? The response is, that's not true. There aren't any. There were mandates for children going to school, never for you to go to McDonald's.
Right.
If you want to buy your Big Mac and walk in, no one was forcing you to undergo a medical procedure to do so. That's new.
I want to rewatch this Jon Stewart on Tucker Carlson on, what was this, Crossfire?
Yeah, it was bad.
Because it was when Tucker still wore a bow tie and Jon was like, look, you're like a trained monkey. You look like you're wearing the bow tie.
Jon Stewart shut down the ability for people on the left and right to talk to each other.
But I did see Tucker had sort of an evolution.
He attacked that.
Tucker came out of that as a new man and kind of evolved his style of reporting. So I liked that. I thought it was great.
We'll do it.
We should do it.
We'll literally just make
do it here.
A show.
Yeah.
We have 2 studios now. And then we'll just book people. And I think if we go for, if the show is not based upon having ultra high profile individuals, we could easily make the show happen a once a week Crossfire. Get like a prominent activist from the left and the right to sit down and have a conversation.
Yeah, it doesn't even need to be billed necessarily as a debate.
Yeah, it would just be like,
hey, let's sit around the table and actually talk some of this stuff out.
Yeah. Let's do it. We'll bring it
That's
back.
how magnifying glasses work.
And Jon Stewart's not invited.
No, John. No, he's invited.
But if you had the opportunity to debate Jon Stewart, would you take the opportunity to do so?
No, I would take it, but not on this because we're going to call it the Not Jon Stewart Show.
Oh, okay. I see. Yeah.
The Jon Stewart is bad new Crossfire show.
Yes.
No, we can have him on, but I'm not going to cave and cancel the show because he complains about it and insults somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
I do think Tucker in that clip poorly responded to.
Well, I think
Jon
Tucker's
Stewart.
like 35 in that clip. Like that's a very young Tucker.
If when I saw Malcolm Nance and Ben Shapiro, I also thought Ben funny when he said he sleeps on piles of money, but also responded poorly. My response would always just be like, I don't know why you're being mean. Like, I'm just trying to explain.
Right. Malcolm Nance, a guy who's made an entire career about lying about his military service. The guy he was an IT guy, and he was a linguist who got kicked out of being able to even do that and then just passed around until he eventually left.
Tucker should have said to Jon Stewart, I'm sorry you feel that way, John. I'm just asking for a little bit of respect if you'd like to.
He took it like a man. He listened to John. He didn't insult him. And then he just became a fantastic reporter. Yeah.
Tucker Carlson said, what is this? This is ridiculous. You're supposed to be funny. You're not making us laugh. You're supposed to be a clown.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a terrible reaction. Oh. He should have said, John,
I think it was
please.
good for him, though, at that time, because he had been doing terrible work before that, I remember.
When we had Vosh and Charlie on, I saw a lot of people tweeting about how Charlie was like saying things to Vosh that like were calling him out for, you know, just like things Vosh has been criticized for. And I'm just like, I don't care about that. I want Charlie to be like, this policy doesn't work for this reason. And then people will be like, wow, Vosh was wrong about that. So, I mean, and I'm not trying to specifically target Charlie. I'm just saying that was one of the things that came up. I don't like shows where it's just like, I'm going to talk about a person.
Yeah.
So when I saw Malcolm Nance and Ben Shapiro, I'm like, Ben should have, when Malcolm Nance was like, is this what you do on your show? 'Cause it sucks. My response would be like, okay, sorry, I guess. Like, I'm just trying to have a nice conversation, man. You don't gotta.
Yeah, I think you would eventually win the argument that way, because even if you're not necessarily, it feels counterintuitive, right? Well, someone said something, so I have to respond, right? As opposed to just saying, whoa, man, I'm just trying to talk about this issue. I don't know why you're doing that.
One of the number one responses I give to people on Facebook when they're arguing is I'll just be like, I'm sorry, I don't understand why you're being so mean to me right now.
Yeah.
And that immediately, like, most people go like, well, I don't know, I'm just saying. And it's like, dude, I'm not trying to have a fight. I remember during Occupy Wall Street, a friend of mine went on Sean Hannity, and Hannity said something like, you're down there, the occupiers taking dumps on cars. And then my friend was like, oh, you can't blame us. They're arguing. And I was like, dude, why would you do that? You know what I would have said? Hannity, you're 100% correct. Like that guy is a photo of a guy taking a dump on a car. Nobody's happy about that.
Gross.
We need help. We need some leadership. That's true. We need your audience and people who support you to come down and recognize that these big banks are running us across the coals, that there's special interests that are working in government, revolving door policies. And when you see photos of this stuff, no, there are a bunch of young people who are desperately trying to say, we want to help the working class. We want freedom. We love America. Why don't you help us out?
Yeah, but see, that message was completely lost because of the other stuff. And I've even gone back and I wrote a whole book about Antifa and all of this. And when you look at it now, the way things have changed, here we are 10 years later. It's literally the 10-year anniversary of Zuccotti Park, that it's almost like the sides have flipped in a way. So Antifa is now on the same side as Citibank. You've got Antifa in Brisbane, Australia, calling for vaccine mandates, calling for more lockdowns, but also saying they're anti-fascist. No. You are now the shock troops of the political class. You're the shock troops of BlackRock and Blackstone and Wall Street and all the rest of it. Whereas you've got other people now that are the deplorables saying, you know what? We're on the side of the workers. So it's kind of like you're saying, though, you know, so many of these issues get caught up in the left right of it, but it's not actually left right. It's up down.
Yeah. All right. Short Round says Matrix 4 is probably about Neo convincing everyone to get back into the pod and eat the bugs to heal the planet.
The trailer looked awful. Absolutely god awful.
Halloween
Kills was god awful too, by the way. I watched it on the plane. It was so bad.
Oh man. You know what it is? It's because look at Netflix. Look at their employees.
Garbage.
They're deranged.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that as a pejorative. I'm not saying that as like an insult. I'm saying literally it's a group of people who are mentally unwell, screaming and just deranged.
So Chuck Dixon, the guy who created Bane, he did Birds of Prey. He also, I don't mean this as a plug, but I got to work with him when I did the Agent Poso graphic novel. He had a great YouTube that he did the other day where he was talking about why it is that DC and Marvel can't write stories anymore. He said because they get so caught up in character development, but not just development, deconstruction of character. And they deconstruct a little more, then they deconstruct a little more, and it all becomes all about the identity of the character, that they don't create any stories because they never could, because they didn't actually have any talent, because deconstructing something isn't a talent. It's just taking something that already exists and then reducing it to more base layers, as opposed to having a story about Superman or Batman going up against an adversary and having to defeat that adversary. Instead, you're just deconstructing the character, and eventually you're turning it inside and inside and inside, that you go completely inside out. And so they're destroying all of
You used to have
things.
like Wolverine, he'd be there and then something would happen and he'd be like, I'm devastated. And then that'd be the end. But now it's like, I'm devastated. And then the next frame is because of my childhood. And then it like goes into why he's there. No one cares about that.
All right. Max Jones says, nice Harmony silhouette on the wall. Is that a new acquisition? It is indeed.
Aha. Yes.
Yeah, we have a whole new music setup. If you watch the Cast Castle vlog, you'd see them setting it up. So we actually have a piano, electric piano. We've got bass. There's 2 guitars there, 1 guitar there. There's another guitar sitting over there. And we've got a microphone so we can actually do jam sessions.
Yeah, there it is.
Which we're playing on. We have another mixer board, which goes into our other mixer board. So we have all of the sounds come together in a
That should be
beautiful blend.
the whole third hour today. It's just jamming.
Well, we used to jam on Friday nights. Mm-hmm. We might do something like that, but we had a plan to do events where you could actually have tickets to come here, but that seems to be jammed up because of like legal issues.
It's all about the jam.
Paperwork issues. So
I want to get Jack out here on Fridays from now on so we can rock and roll after the show.
You
know what I really want to do?
Bass,
we'll
baby.
do it.
I want to get Jack on bass. I'll play guitar. Sydney Watson, she plays piano, right?
Yeah, and she sings. Yep.
Ivory Hecker plays guitar, and Ryan Long plays drums.
Yeah.
And
I got the triangle.
James
Of course,
O'Keefe.
Ryan Long's a drummer. Of course he is.
Yep.
Yeah.
James, does he sing? Or
He does sing.
He sings.
Yeah, he does.
Sings Broadway.
Yeah,
Yep.
he sings well.
So making this super group. And
Let's do it.
DJ.
We should.
We'll do like Rage Against the Machine, but like the
Yes.
current version.
Yes, we should cover. It's killing in the name, right?
Right.
But we should make
Submitting in the name.
Yes.
Yeah.
F you better do what we tell you.
Rage with the machine.
on behalf of.
Rage for the machine.
Rage on behalf of the machine.
Range on behalf of the machine.
All right, let's read a little more. Michael Weston says, excellent name, by the way. Is your bird notice still active? What's the status on the Freedom Phone? Actually, by the end of the series, I'm pretty sure that was over. Also, with creating culture, would you consider doing an episode of what servers, services, and other products to use to avoid being canceled by the likes of Amazon, Google, etc.? Well, we're working on a bunch of shows. We have a pop culture show we're working on, talking about just movies, video games, and, cultural issues around that. So we do talk about those issues, like obviously talking about Dave Chappelle and stuff. This one would be more like, Britney Spears, conservatorship, and the one story I really don't care for, Gabby Petito. But it's more cultural side of things.
Alligators.
Freedom Phone is on a huge wait list, I think, right?
Yeah, and we were having trouble purchasing them. It's for some reason cards were getting declined. Like I was using multiple cards to try and buy them. It wasn't. I don't know if it was on their end or not.
Are they having supply chain issues like everyone else?
I know that the demand orders say they're going to ship in November of 2021.
They were too big.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and we can't ask for special treatment,
right?
Because you could get a Potemkin phone, you
Right.
know. So we need to have an order from people they won't know who to see, and then
we
can source it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be legitimate.
But thanks for reminding me. I'm going to try and order those again.
Baczynski says Luke was theorizing that maybe plastic pipes that carry water leak BPA, and there's a lot of soy lecithin that stabilizes all kinds of processed food.
That's true.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Brian Knowles says, Tim, if they are starting to mandate medical procedures such as vaccines, who's to say they won't mandate things such as birth control remote? Imagine if when you were born, they say, would you like to do their, medical implant while we're here? And the parents are going to be like, oh, absolutely. And they put the chip in, and the chip can release a series of hormones or whatever for 16 years. And then they can just type in an app and control what happens.
It's not crazy to think that it won't happen.
Yeah, it's like we're
it's crazy to think that it will. Yeah.
Right. So my son's my older son is 3 now, and so we're going through potty training, and he's pretty good for the most part, but he's still, there's accidents occasionally, and it's like, oh, well, instead of me just having to father him and discuss these things with him, it's no, it's just dial it in better, man. Just take away some endorphins, and then if he goes, then it's ridiculous. But I could totally see people saying, oh, well, I'll just use this app to control my phone. That'll be, or control my son. That's so much easier than actually having to, be a parent.
And you're probably going to see things like, you help your kid learn languages faster. Put a chip in his brain, and they really will learn the languages.
You know which
faster.
one I would take though?
Like that
honestly,
episode of Stargate.
I would. Yeah, that does happen on Stargate.
When the little kids get the implants
Yeah.
that download their memories, but then when they remove the implant, the kid becomes comatose.
Mm-hmm.
But then the implant can be shared with all other people, so they all share in the knowledge and experience of the kid.
Hive mind.
Creepy.
Yeah, you're giving away your individuality with these things. All of these things.
Desiree Smith says, why is there an adorable llama plush behind Poso? It's an alpaca.
It is an alpaca.
right.
It is an alpaca, and the scarf is made from alpaca wool.
Oh,
It's very cute.
Thank you, alpaca.
There's a little
soft.
bit. It's because Jack didn't have a book.
Yeah.
Well, that didn't bring me away. You didn't tell me about the shelf. I didn't
say.
know this. I would definitely would have put the My
didn't
Pillow
think to
there. By
tell
the
you.
way,
It was John R.'s idea. He super chatted us saying, why don't you put a shelf right there for people can,
it's actually a really good idea.
Yeah, I was like, that's a good idea. So
Because we have like we do like the Bible story Bible. We have like a smaller My Pillow that you can do, and it's like for
you can bring a little My Pillow.
yeah. There's no really, but if they have
Yeah.
they have Bible
For the
stories you
alpaca.
can get. So like we have the one for my kid. We have like the Nativity story, and you can get like Noah's Ark. You can get the Lion's Den, a bunch of different ones. And they have like patriotic ones as well. Not necessarily religious, but just a bunch of cool different designs. But it would totally fit like right on that shelf.
All right. Ugandan Dinner says, Tim, your response to people saying the increase in gas prices isn't related to Biden. I would say they're lying. I mean, first of all, you've got complete destabilization in Afghanistan. But let's just start from the beginning. Joe Biden banned fracking on federal lands.
Yep.
Joe Biden shut down the Keystone Pipeline.
Yep.
With that alone, we saw a major spike in speculation that a decreased supply and an increased demand would drive up prices. So aside from that fact, which is going to increase prices, you had speculative demand on top. That drove up gas prices. Now you have a trucking shortage and a labor shortage, which, yes, has a lot to do with Joe Biden's failed policies. The jamming up at the ports, yes, major problems. The Build Back Better bill, look, that's not happening yet. But yes, Joe Biden's policies are resulting in everything getting worse. Not to mention, I can put it very simply, when it was Donald Trump, that 2020 was all Trump. It was Trump's responsibility as president. He was in favor of, slow the spread, 15 days. He was in favor of a lot of these policies. He came out and criticized them later, but the ball had been rolling and 2020 was bad economically. And I think a lot of people recognize COVID. As for Joe Biden, I'll absolutely recognize the impact COVID and everything's had. But when you have a guy who says we're going to do a vaccine mandate, people believe he puts an executive order in place because there's a complicit media. He doesn't. Then they start firing people when you're already dealing with a labor shortage. My friends, then you have the Democrats planning on pumping out more and more money, spending more. Inflation also drives up gas prices. So just spare me.
And I'd say this for both sides, by the way, because you see Republicans and Democrats getting this wrong. You got to take the Alaska pill. You have to take the Alaska pill. We have so many rare earth minerals there.
Invade Alaska.
Gas. We have the natural resources. Occupy Alaska. Invade Alaska. Whatever it takes. And it's, we went up there with Daniel Turner and learned about all this. It's, I want to get Greenland too, by the way. Definitely invade Greenland while we're at it.
Yeah.
But you get both of those and we don't need to worry about Afghanistan. We don't need to worry about the World Island. We don't need to worry about any of these things. We'll have everything we need for the next 100 years. Or more.
Right on. All right. I love how they made fun of Trump when he was like, we should buy Greenland.
It's a great idea.
It was like, actually was a very smart thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So now China's getting in there and you've got Bill Gates and Bloomberg and Bezos, I believe, are all going in on rare earth mineral mines in Greenland, which could have been ours. It could have been ours.
Remember when Trump tweeted the Trump Tower in Greenland?
Not to do this.
Yes. Just do it. Just take
That would
it.
have been awesome.
So cool.
All right, let's see what we got.
What are the Danes going to do about
Dude,
it?
Denmark owns Greenland. Why don't they just call it Denmark?
Excuse me. We need to liberate the
Yes.
Greenlanders from the oppressive white
A
global
colonizers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's make it
Like
a park.
Denmark.
That's
We'll
right.
make it a human park. It'll be the first.
And
Arc-
Denmark's
the
a
Arctic.
monarchy.
Dude, I think they should change the name of Greenland to Denmark at this point.
Oppressors.
Because it's so beautiful and huge.
It's green.
And they own it. I
Are you
guess
saying
they own
that
it.
the Danes are beautiful and huge?
Of course, yes.
Maybe.
Okay.
Psychically.
All right.
All right, let's see. Kyle Sheridan says, Luke, some shirt ideas. One with Thomas Paine's quote from The American Crisis, socialism is a human rights violation, and the Wolf of Wall Street meme with Pelosi's face over Leo's body.
I like it. Good
I like
ideas.
all
I
of
love your
those, yeah.
ideas. People send me ideas all the time, and that's how I'm able to make some of the shirts. So you guys could email me at
Wait,
info
which
at
Wolf of Wall Street meme, though? 'Cause
wearechange.org.
there's several
so
Wolf of
many
Wall
of them.
Street memes.
Yeah.
Many good ones.
Send me all your ideas. Info at wearechange.org.
I'm going to take that back. Greenland's an autonomous territory within the Danish realm.
Oh,
so
snap.
maintain your independence, Greenland.
Okay.
All right, everybody, smash that like button if you haven't done it already. And go to timcast.com, become a member. We're going to have a members-only segment coming up. It'll be published around 11 or so p.m. You don't want to miss it. And also, as a member, you can bid to get 2 tickets to come to our show this Saturday. And I'm just going to let y'all know, we don't really have a plan. We were like, hey, we should do an event. And I'm like,
not.
yeah. And so I asked this venue and they were like, I guess. And I was like, cool. And then I was like, so what do we do? I don't know. Ian's like, we should jam. And I'm like, okay. And then I was like, I'll see if we can get like Ryan to do comedy. And so I hit up Ryan and he's like, yeah, we could have Danny open. I'm
Comedy
like, cool.
night.
And then I'm sitting here this morning, I'm like jamming, it's like, I play guitar to warm up my voice before I record. And then I'm like, I have no idea what we're doing this weekend for this event. Like, I know that Ryan is going to perform,
we're
going to have tickets, but I mean, like, I guess we'll just be hanging out
Yeah, like a
at a
meet and
venue
greet.
and,
Yeah, it'll be fun.
but
Answer some questions.
How does everybody ask? Maybe we sit on stage and just take questions or
Sounds
something.
fun, yeah.
For like an hour or 30
Good.
minutes or something.
Yeah.
Cast Castle Live.
That's right.
Yeah, we were actually thinking about getting a bigger venue, but
You
at
call it
this point-
Timcast IRL.
We could
Yeah.
like
That's
record
actually
it.
we were thinking that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Record it and then put it on the website.
The Q&A. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, from the audience. And I don't know. What do you think, Luke?
I want to like start a march, a chant. I want like some kind of like civil disobedience that's non-violent. I want some kind of like
Found the Fed, everyone.
Non-violence.
Yeah, this is going to be like having chicken wings.
The Fed calling me a Fed. Well, come on. What is this?
I saw that. Everyone in the chat's like, oh, Poso, the Fed is back.
All right, everybody, smash that like button. You can follow the show at TimCastIRL. You can follow me at TimCast basically everywhere. Jack, you want to shout anything out? Maybe a pillow or a book?
Yeah, no. I've talked about MyPillow, but with the supply chain crisis, with all that stuff coming from overseas, your MyPillows are made right here in the United States. So support American workers, buy American, beat the supply chains, beat China. Go to mypillow.com, utilize promo code POSO, and then also check us out on the Human Events Daily podcast powered by Turning Point USA. Ton of stuff going on with Turning Point. Huge event coming up in December. We've got Tucker, we've got Candace, we've got Kaylee, we've got Junior. We might have another guy with a similar last name as Junior coming up, as well as myself. That's going to be Phoenix, December 18th to the 21st.
Right on.
I want to thank all the people in the chat that called me a gorilla today. Yes. And if you enjoy my ramblings about Bill Gates's microchip contraceptives, you will enjoy my channel, which is very close to 1 million subscribers. The channel is called We Are Change, and we're only 259,559 people away from 1 million subscribers, and I think it would be ironic to get a gold plaque when YouTube still hasn't sent me my silver one.
Luke is the OG demonetized.
Yeah. One of the first channels ever demonetized.
I think you were the first.
Yeah, seriously.
Before demonetization was a thing, they were manually going into Luke's channel and turning off ads.
They didn't even tell me, and everyone like I had a green dollar sign.
It's Luke's fault.
I had a green dollar sign, and then it's like nothing. Like no review, no questionnaire, no options, just like blank. I was like, what the hell's going on here? I talked to people at YouTube. They're like, well, we don't know. We don't know what's going on here. No one, it never hit anyone else. So, channel is, youtube.com/WeAreChange.
Once again, Luke was patient zero.
Yeah, when I was making YouTube videos in 2007, when they released the partner program, or was that 2008? They just looked right over my stuff. But all my friends got monetized, but they didn't like my stuff.
People could check out Ian's
screaming
videos.
A lot of words.
Well, you were going crazy.
Yes,
you were going wild.
Yeah.
I will wear that badge till the end. Thanks for coming. I love you guys. Thank you for your comments, your messages, you subscribers, everybody. You guys make this a completely unique experience.
And
so
don't forget,
keep it coming.
If you go to timcast.com and go to the About section, there's a P.O. box. And whatever you send to Luke, you must put on his wall.
That was last week.
I thought you were still doing it.
Any housewarming gift. I mean, the wall's already filled.
It is? Really?
Yeah. I mean, look how many posters I got. Thank you for all the posters, by the way. They're incredible and they're awesome.
The one with Luke as Bill Clinton was great.
Yeah, that was hilarious. I didn't want to show that one, but
with the blue dress?
Yes. That was a great Photoshop job, but even a better troll.
It wasn't
so
Photoshop,
yeah, if you guys just make sure when you do send stuff to the house, make sure you address it to the people you want it to send it to.
Before it gets lost.
And before it gets lost. And I appreciate any kind of housewarming gifts. I appreciate it very much. It means a lot.
Yeah, and send stuff to anybody, whoever.
Yeah,
yes.
you totally can.
We also have
I'm here as well, and I was going to hark back to the note that we made about Tales from the Inverted World, because I was listening to that while I was taking a walk the other day, and that is a super cool show. He gets into it, and he talks about a bunch of the history and all the different stuff that's going into each episode. He really does a lot of hard work on it. Shane does, and I really recommend it highly.
So I just want to say real quick, with Tales from the Inverted World, these are just some preliminary essays that Shane had written, and the stuff with the ghost stories. I get a message and he's like, "I just saw a UFO. I swear to God."
Okay,
talking
Shane.
about they went UFO hunting.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited because I've seen some of the details on the lost Confederate gold, and it's like national treasure, but for the Confederates.
That's awesome.
No, for real. There's crazy myths about what they did with their gold. After
this is a huge thing.
Yeah.
What happened.
Buried under a cemetery, maybe.
Yeah, all sorts
dispersed to a bunch of churches.
Theories,
crazy
yeah.
theories. Yeah, conspiracy.
But yeah, I had to hit up the whole family chat and be like, you guys need to check this podcast out. This is how Timcast is expanding, and this is how we're going to make a difference in the culture. But you guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter at Sarah Patchlitz, where I attempt to change culture in weird ways.
We will see all of you over at timcast.com in the member segment. Thanks for hanging out.
Bye, guys.